Chapter 1059. Xinjia's father was probably worried that Xinjia would be at a disadvantage during the journey. There was nothing else on the spaceship other than food. The foodie Ding Meng naturally would not let go of such an opportunity. He got himself a few cow legs as thick as trees and sat in the command center's lounge, munching on them until his mouth was covered in oil. Xinjia also accompanied him, and the two of them ate happily. Ji Chenxue was bored and could only monitor the surveillance screen alone. However, she was not too worried. After all, no one would come for a while. More accurately, it was unknown whether or not anyone would come. It was obvious that her thinking was wrong. Not only were there people coming to this planet, they were coming very quickly. The surveillance radar flashed white in less than 3 hours. Xinjia stood up in surprise. Someone is really coming. Ding Meng also put down his cow leg and rushed over to stare at the screen. On the interstellar map, a white dot appeared in the deep space outside the Cancer system. In terms of size, the white dot was very small and could be easily overlooked if one was not paying attention. The white dot was obviously moving in the direction of this small planet. The image was enlarged and Ding Meng and Xinjia were shocked. This was a Songqing spaceship with the Norse Empire's military logo printed on the hull. Ji Chenxue was a little happy. I didn't expect the Empire's military to be able to find this place. Xinjia said, "That's not right. How can a Songqing spaceship travel so far? There must be a mothership or fleet hidden somewhere nearby. The scale is not small." Ding Meng also found it strange. Where did this little Songqing come from? The Songqing spaceship quickly passed through the thunderclouds and flew down towards the underground palace. However, the Songqing spaceship was still relatively large, at least larger than the Divine Arrow spaceship after it split up. Therefore, it finally stopped at the palace in the middle of the underground palace. After the cabin was opened, a row of neatly dressed soldiers rushed out. Those who dared to disembark from the ship were definitely not weak. Sensing the aura of this group of people, Ji Chenxue could not help but be surprised. They're all battle saints, and there are even a few war gods. The strength of the Empire's military is not weak. At this time, Xinjia had already quietly turned off the close-range quantum scan. They were so close, and they had already disembarked. If he was not careful, he would be exposed. However, the Divine Light radar could still clearly see the faces of this group of soldiers. Ding Meng's face suddenly darkened. Ji Chenxue couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Xinjia pointed at the screen and said, "It's very strange. This group of people are actually all female soldiers, and there are even some of our people." Ji Chenxue took a closer look. The two women who came down from the connecting cabin had military ranks on their shoulders. One of them was obviously an attendant, but the other was a general. These two people were none other than Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi, whom he hadn't seen in a long time. Why are they here? Ji Chenxue was also very confused. Ding Meng's expression became even more serious. "No, pay attention and carefully identify their auras." Ji Chenxue also used his telekinesis. Not long after, his expression also changed. These female soldiers were indeed origin ability users, but they were all concealing an extremely dense aura of Night Luan warriors. Normal origin ability users would not be able to detect it at all. Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi even emitted the aura of a war god. It must be known that the last time Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi had met Ding Meng was 10 years ago. At that time, they were just warlords. Breaking through to the war god realm in 10 years was a speed that Ding Meng himself could not achieve under normal circumstances. It was very obvious that many changes had happened to these two. Ding Meng suddenly felt that these changes might not be good. "Let's take a look first," Ding Meng said in a low voice. This group of female soldiers naturally began to move forward with Chu Shaoqing as the center. However, the mana from the underground palace was extremely powerful. The rolling black fog was not something that normal people could disperse. The image showed that this group of people was completely helpless against the black fog. They tried to set it on fire or freeze it, but the black fog did not move at all. However, someone actually tried to force their way through the black fog. A few seconds after entering the black fog, they staggered out. They bent over and coughed violently, coughing up black smoke. From this, it could be seen that the defense of this supply point was quite strong. However, for fierce people like Ding Meng and the others, it was almost useless. Seeing that they could not enter, Chu Shaoqing frowned slightly. Obviously, she could not think of any good ideas. Thus, she turned her head and whispered something to Xing Yi. Soon, Xing Yi turned around and returned to the connecting cabin. Xing's silently watched the image. There should still be people on the ship. Maybe they went back to ask for help. As expected, in less than 5 minutes, the connecting cabin door flashed with light. A beautiful woman appeared on the stairs. She did not wear the military uniform or armor of the Norse Empire. Instead, she wore a luxurious black robe with gold embroidery. She even had a white shawl draped over her shoulders. If a middle-aged woman wore this, she would definitely be a noble lady. However, this woman was surprisingly young. To be more precise, she was a girl around 20 years old. She dressed so maturely. She was undoubtedly a beauty. Her skin was as white as snow and her face was exquisitely sculpted. She was as cute as a doll. However, such a face had a dignified expression. Seeing her, all the soldiers bowed. Even Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi were no exception. "Greetings, Miss Molan." Ji Chenxue frowned. "Who is this?" Ding Meng was expressionless. "This is a pure Night Luan warrior. You'll know once you identify her aura." Ji Chenxue sensed again and realized that Ding Meng was not lying. This Molan's aura was the unique charm of Night Luan. It was similar to the fragrance of peach blossoms and the pure fragrance of a young girl. Men would be intoxicated by it. However, this Molan's aura was not strong. At most, she was a battle saint. She could not even be considered a galactic warrior. For a moment, Ji Chenxue was lost in thought. The so-called Six Weaves might be similar to the Federal Empire. Although they had many experts, there were also low-level warriors, and perhaps even ordinary people. When this Molan walked, she was the epitome of arrogance. Her chin was raised high until she walked in front of Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi. She raised her hand and slapped them twice. "Trash, you bunch of trash. You can't even handle such a small matter." What surprised Ding Meng was that Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi did not dare to use their origin energy to resist. They took the 2 slaps and stood there obediently with their heads lowered. "Why?" Ji Chenxue was a bit angry. Xing said, "Perhaps a lot of changes have occurred in the Federal Empire." Ding Meng did not say anything. He still planned to observe. This situation was too strange. After slapping them twice, Molan seemed to still be angry. She flew toward Xing Yi and beat them up. "Trash, the higher-ups told you to cultivate properly, but you didn't listen. You just had to be willful. Trash, trash, trash. You affected my star combat just now. Trash," she kicked and scolded. Her attacks were not very strong, but they were extremely insulting. Chu Shaoqing could not stand it anymore. She pulled Xing Yi behind her. "Miss Molan, we're going deep into a foreign planet. We have to consider the big picture. Please help us." Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi had a deep friendship since they were at least in academy. After all these years, they were like sisters. Seeing Xing Yi being humiliated, she would definitely stand up. "Oh, you're quite protective of your soldiers, aren't you?" Molan laughed coldly. She reached out and patted Chu Shaoqing's face. "Trash will always be trash. Scram to the side." Chu Shaoqing immediately retreated. Molan slapped her again before approaching the black fog. She took out a glowing peach blossom petal from her pocket. She aimed it at the black fog and shot out a pink stream of air. The black fog flowed into the petal like water, and a long passage appeared. "What is that?" Ji Chenxue was curious. Ding Meng said, It might be a magic treasure. Ji Chenxue said. Magic treasure? Ding Meng explained. Just like the heaven and earth treasures and poison carriers in the devouring domain, the real experts all have their own treasures. They have been refined and refined over and over again. But she's definitely not an expert. Ji Chenxue was a bit unhappy. Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi were still humans. Being humiliated by a Knight Luan, she felt a sense of hatred for a common enemy. For example, right now, Molan had absorbed the demon energy, but she did not seem to be satisfied. After slapping the two girls a few more times, she even spat on Chu Shaoqing's face. Chu Shaoqing did not dodge. She stood there obediently, allowing Molan to humiliate her. However, in Ding Meng's perception, he still discovered a trace of anger in the depths of Chu Shaoqing's eyes. However, Chu Shaoqing hid it very well. She was clearly trying her best to endure. At this moment, the radar suddenly flashed red. This was the warning of the Divine Arrow spaceship. Something that could trigger the radar's warning was most likely an unknown power of demons. Xinjie flipped through the image and found that there were more dots of light coming from outer space. They were so fast that the radar could not zoom in. It shouldn't be a spaceship unit, but an individual. Xinjie analyzed. Ding Meng's eyes flashed. That's right. Two powerful auras have appeared. They're pure demons. In his psychic vision, two thick oval-shaped clouds of black fog passed through the thunderclouds and rushed toward the entrance at lightning speed. Over at the underground palace, Songqing's spaceship also noticed the abnormality. Chu Xiaoqing's expression changed. She waved her hand and gave an order. Everyone, return to the spaceship and protect Miss Molan. Activate the stealth system. She had been through hundreds of battles and was good at dealing with all kinds of unexpected situations. What they needed to do now was not to move forward but to identify the enemy. However, Molan waved her hand and stopped them. Look at how timid you are. Don't go up. I don't believe anyone dares to go against us. Even if it's someone from the Federation, I can still take them down. Thus, the group of female soldiers stopped moving. Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi exchanged glances. Their eyes were filled with helplessness. What did the saying go? Don't be afraid of a godlike opponent, but be afraid of a pig-like teammate. How could someone who could find this place and rush over so quickly be an ordinary person? Even if it was an ordinary person, the force behind this ordinary person could perform long-distance interstellar teleportation. This Molan was simply an idiot. Although she was a Night Phoenix martial artist, her experience was close to zero. Chapter 1060. The two masses of black fog quickly swept into the middle section of the passage. At this time, the black fog gradually dispersed, turning into two faintly discernible bodies. Their bodies were shrouded in smoke, just like ghosts from the netherworld. They were typical demon race martial artists. One of them left a deep impression on Ding Meng. It was the demon's General Henning. Back then, he was chased in the space-time tunnel and somehow managed to escape. Now, he appeared here again. As for the other demon's martial artist Ding Meng, they didn't recognize him, but his evil aura was much stronger than Henning's. No wonder there were auras, someone was faster than us. Henning spoke. Emolan took 2 steps forward and said, So it's people from the Demon Sky Empire. What are you doing here? Henning looked at her and revealed a playful expression. This place is our demon's meeting point. If our demons don't come, do you expect the people of Night Luan to come? Emolan waved her hand. Then you can leave now. Henning was instantly stunned. Your tone is comparable to the demon monarchs. It's not an ordinary kind of big. Seeing Henning's stunned expression, Emolan raised her chin again. What? Looking at you, you don't seem to want to leave? Henning had hidden in the Empire for many years and had already learned the human world's ways. He didn't get angry and thought for a while before carefully asking, Little girl, I haven't asked for your name. Emolan had a proud expression. Remember, My mother is General Mo Yin of the Night Luan Empire's Queen Mo Yin. Henning was stunned again. From his expression, it could be seen that he knew General Mo Yan's name and was a bit wary. Henning turned to his companion. Brother Ning, what do you think? This Brother Ning was clearly a smart person. He floated forward and said with a happy expression, Sorry, so you're General Mo's descendant. I'm Ning Yu, a subordinate of the Demon Sky Empire's Demon Lord Qin Yu. The Demon Sky Empire's emperor was Xie Yu. As for who Qin Yu was, he was definitely inferior to Xie Yu. Plus, Mo Lan didn't know who Qin Yu was. Mo Lan appeared somewhat impatient. She waved her hand and said, I told you to leave, so leave. What are you being so long-winded for? Seeing this, Ding Meng and the others could see some clues. Ever since the destruction of the AIG Star Empire, the Night Luan Empire had been the sole ruler of the Six Weaves. Mo Lan's arrogance was due to the fact that she was using her status to suppress others. She was certain that the other party would not dare to use force lightly. Ningyu was not impatient. He said, Little girl, I think you are here to replenish your energy. Everyone is in a remote part of the universe, and there is a lack of energy. But have you thought about this? This is the demon's rendezvous point. There was a restriction here many years ago. Without us, it will be difficult for you to open it. Even if your mother comes, it will be the same. My Demon Sky Kingdom and the Night Phoenix Kingdom have been good friends for generations. How about this? We will lead the way, and when we find the singularity, we can share it. How about that? Mo Lan sneered. You really know how to make up lies like that? Do I need you to activate it? Even if I can't, when my Night Luan fleet arrives, I don't believe I can't open it. Ning Yu and Henning's expressions changed. This little girl was really stubborn. Ning Yu took the initiative to step back. All right, we will leave. Take care of yourself, miss. Then, the two turned into two balls of demonic mist and flew out. Mo Lan immediately waved her hand. Let's go. It's fine now. Everyone, go in. Seeing the group of female soldiers disappear into the depths of the tunnel, Ji Chenxue could not help but sigh. Still too naive. You think you can scare them off with your status? Ding Meng nodded. Henning and Ning Yu were both very strong. They did not fear anyone below the interstellar martialist level. They definitely would not be scared off by the name of Mo Yan's daughter. Let's go down and take a look. General Chu and the others are inside. Ji Chenxue suggested. All right. Ding Meng could ignore this Mo Lan, but he could not abandon Chu Shaoqing and Star Art. After all, they were his friends. However, the two of them were still very far away. He only needed to use his senses to sense them. This was because Henning and Ning's auras had not completely disappeared. They had only returned to the surface. In the core palace, not to mention the black mist in the center, it was already very difficult for Mo Lan and the others to enter the demonic palace surrounded by black mist. After all, they were too weak. Mo Lan took out her peach blossom petal again. She aimed it at the black mist outside the palace and began to absorb energy. This time, the petal was also absorbing energy like a vortex. However, the energy was not black. Instead, it gradually turned pink and surged into the petal. The scene was very exaggerated. Ji Chenxue said, She's converting the energy into the Night Luan Empire's energy and absorbing it, right? Ding Meng silently watched. It looks like it, but the amount is too large. There's no way she can convert it all. This kind of excessive absorption is harmful. Before he could finish his sentence, the petal in Mo Lan's hand exploded with a boom, creating a circular shockwave around the palace. The group of people was sent flying on the spot, and the demon palace's energy returned to its normal black color. Miss Mo Lan, Miss Mo Lan. No one cared about their own injuries and rushed to help her up. Mo Lan was shocked and angry. What kind of forbidden spell is this? It actually has a backlash effect. Ding Meng laughed inwardly. It's clearly because you're not strong enough. Why are you blaming the demons for the forbidden spell? Taking advantage of Emolan's shock and anger, Ding Meng's eyes suddenly trembled. The telekinesis of the sovereign's descent was instantly released. Emolan suddenly felt her consciousness go blank. She did not know that her divine sense had been invaded by Ding Meng. Ding Meng had always maintained a mental connection with Ji Qianxue, so Ji Qianxue could also see Emolan's memories. In the space-time tunnel battle 5 years ago, the Night Luan fleet had still managed to break through the wormhole and land in the fertile Chalk star system. Then, they effortlessly dealt a heavy blow to the empty combined fleet and finally arrived in the Norse Empire. Since Wenyang had been destroyed on Planet 32, the Norse Empire could be said to be leaderless. With Mo Yen as the leader, the Night Luan warriors easily took control of the upper echelons of the empire. Ding Meng now had a deeper understanding of the Night Luan warriors. This was a group of warriors who were completely female-oriented. Each of them was as beautiful as a flower, as beautiful as a fairy. Mo Yen and the others did not directly reveal themselves. Instead, they hid behind the scenes as VIPs, remotely controlling the empire's military and the new ruler. The first thing they did was to attend all kinds of public events and banquets, frequently seducing men. These men all had certain characteristics. They were either relatively strong origin ability users or talented young men. Then, they would all do some indescribable things. On the surface, it looked like they were in love, but in reality, these human origin ability users were gradually sucked dry. The origin and energy of their lifetime of cultivation were all sucked dry by the Night Luan warriors. From the perspective of a cultivation technique, this was a watered-down version of the diamond star-fusing art. It was a kind of evil cultivation technique. Sakas had once mentioned to Ding Meng that Queen Mingyan had cultivated a top-tier cultivation technique. This technique had no other use than that as long as she could pleasure the sovereign king day and night, the sovereign king's strength would imperceptibly weaken, while she herself would imperceptibly increase in strength. Perhaps Mingyan was afraid of the sovereign king's strength, so she didn't dare show it too obviously. However, these Night Luan warriors who had descended upon the empire were completely unscrupulous. They went around plundering origin ability users. The pitiful thing was that these origin ability users were completely unaware of this. Thinking about it, this was actually quite normal. When these goddess-like beauties showed a bit of their charm, how could the Empire's experts resist? They all thought that they had hit the jackpot and couldn't wait to do it every night. Little did they know that what awaited them was a nightmarish ending. The Night Luan warriors' actions caused the number of men in the Empire to rapidly decrease. Next, they promoted female origin ability users to the upper echelons. Currently, the upper echelons of the Empire were dominated by women. The most absurd thing was that the Night Luan warriors even taught the female origin ability users this evil cultivation technique called the yin-yang balance of heaven and earth, telling them to seduce the male origin ability users and quickly increase their strength. However, the humans' moral values were always different from the Night Luan country. Not to mention, this was the Norse Empire that practiced monogamy. There were definitely female origin ability users who weren't willing to fall. Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi were such people. They couldn't summon men to greedily climb into their beds every night. Thus, these disobedient people were naturally left out. In the past 5 years, the Norse Empire's military forces had completely withdrawn from the fertile Chalk system. They were scattered in outer space, searching everywhere for clues about entropy. For this interstellar patrol, Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi were sent out to do this kind of hard work. As for why Mo Lan was able to accompany them, it was because General Mo Yen knew that this little daughter of his was too inexperienced. He had forcefully asked her to come out and gain experience. As for Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi, they had no choice but to lower their heads. Facing this arrogant and weak general's daughter, they could only swallow their anger. Ji Qianxue couldn't help but sigh. Right now, the Empire is like a demonized world. Perverted women are like hunting dogs, searching everywhere for prey. Our national strength isn't as strong as it used to be. However, there's one thing that's very strange. They actually didn't touch the Holy Grail Federation. Ding Meng said, their ultimate goal is entropy. It's impossible for them to put all their focus on cultivation. Ji Chenxue deeply agreed. This yin-yang balance of heaven and earth was much more effective than normal cultivation. However, for interstellar experts, the benefits were minimal. For example, if a beginner Black Star Trooper devoured the origin energy of a War God level origin ability user, under normal circumstances, her index would only increase by 10 billion points from 1 trillion points. With the help of the yin-yang balance of heaven and earth, this 10 billion points would increase to 30 billion points. However, this would still require the Knight Luan warrior to find 30 War God level men. This was a very difficult task. Thus, for origin ability users, finding a large amount of energy was still the way to go. Even if you were an evil person, you should know that the ultimate goal of a warrior was to obtain an endless amount of energy. Chapter 1061. After extracting Molin's memories, she was still unaware of it. She kept summoning the peach blossom petals to absorb the energy, but she kept failing and being sent flying. Fortunately, she was relatively weak and did not suffer too much of a backlash. However, after trying 7 or 8 times, Ning Yu's voice came from the entrance of the palace again. Little girl, I said before that it would be very difficult for you to open it with your strength. The land of demons cannot be opened with brute force. She turned around and saw Henning and Ning Yu appear in the air like ghosts. Molin was very angry. Why are you here again? Ning Yu ignored her and slowly floated forward. He opened his hand and all the demonic energy was sucked into his palm. However, he was not affected at all. It was obvious that he had a pure body of demons. Naturally, he would not suffer any backlash. Ji Chenxue observed carefully as well. Ning Yu's strength was obviously higher than Henning's. It was only now that Ji Chenxue realized that Henning had always been at the level of an advanced warrior. He was almost invincible back in the Empire. However, Ji Chenxue still admired Henning. He was very cautious and also very low-key. He used Long Lin's identity to hide for so many years and did so many things. True experts were often very cautious. They would not think that they were invincible just because they were strong. Therefore, Ling Xingwen's death was not unjust. The demon's singularity soon appeared in everyone's vision. Even the female soldiers could see it with their naked eyes. The singularity was no longer in the shape of a dot. It had completely expanded into a spherical object. It spread out extremely strong demonic energy waves in all directions. Even Ding Meng and Ji Chenxue felt very oppressed by these waves. As for Molin, Chu Shaoqing and the others, they had no choice but to retreat from the core palace and hide in the Songqing spaceship. The Songqing spaceship even flew back to the ground. The Divine Arrow spaceship also seemed to be unable to withstand this aura. In order not to expose themselves, Xinjie stealthily piloted the spaceship and followed the Songqing spaceship out. Ningyu was still absorbing energy tirelessly. However, the singularity was getting bigger and bigger. It gradually turned from a spherical object to a flat, long piece of stone that emitted a black luster. Henning frowned. Why would a magic crystal appear? Ningyu, on the other hand, was overjoyed. It's perfect for me. He opened his palms, and the materialized black light entered his body at an even faster speed. Ji Chenxue clicked his tongue. This person's strength has increased so quickly. Ding Meng's eyes flickered. It's useless. Don't you find the aura of the demon strange? It hides a vicious aura of the devouring realm's demon race. Ji Chenxue said, Oh? Ding Meng sneered. You'll understand soon enough. About 10 minutes later, the joy on Ning Yu's face gradually faded and was replaced by a solemn and even serious look. This was because he also realized that the aura of this mana was ridiculously strong. Although he was absorbing it, His body couldn't take it. It was like drinking water. At first, you were swallowing it because you were thirsty, but who knew that the water flow would continue to grow stronger and stronger? In the end, it wasn't you who was drinking water, but the water flow that was forced into your body. Not good. Ning Yu's expression changed. He decisively stopped absorbing the energy and retracted his palm. Boom. The singularity spread out a ring of cloud-like ripples, and even Ning Yu and He Ning were blown away. Retreat. Ning Yu seemed to have sensed something abnormal. He turned into a black mist and flew away. What's going on? Ji Chenxue was puzzled. Ding Meng's expression didn't change. Let's go out too. Others might not have noticed the abnormality, but Ding Meng's ghost vision could see everything clearly. The skeleton-like walls of the palace were undergoing a terrifying transformation. As if catalyzed by the mana, the skeletons of the dire beasts were regenerating. Their bones, flesh, and blood were recovering. In the vast wasteland, Songqing's spaceship was parked in an open space. Seeing Ning Yu and Henning come out, Emolan couldn't help but ask, "What's going on inside?" Ning Yu smiled. "No need to panic, little girl. The singularity is just releasing energy." Although Emolan was arrogant, she wasn't so easily fooled. She could vaguely guess that the energy inside was too great. She turned her head and ordered Xing Yi, "Send out a message and report the situation here. Ask General Jiru to come down." Xing Yi didn't say anything else and returned to the connecting cabin. However, Ning Yu and Henning's expressions changed. If the stronger martial artists of the Night Luan Empire came, then there would be nothing for them to do here. "Wait!" Ning Yu decisively shouted. Emolan sneered. "What? Scared?" Ning Yu forced a smile. "Not really. It's better for us demons to handle the land of the demons ourselves." Emolan proudly said, "The energy fluctuations are so great that the two of you can't handle it. It's not inappropriate for us Night Luans to handle it." Henning was a bit anxious. "Little girl, are you trying to take it by force?" Emolan smiled. "So what? If you don't like it, why don't you try?" Henning was immediately terrified. He could look down on battle monarchs, but he really didn't dare to touch General Mo Yan's daughter. Mo Yan wasn't someone he could fight against. Seeing Xing Yi return to the ship, Henning and Ning could only watch helplessly. They didn't dare to make a move, but they also didn't want to leave. Just 5 minutes later, a pink dot appeared in the empty space in the distance. The dot quickly extended and cut through space. A peach blossom-shaped spacetime rift was opened. Pink energy flowed inside. It was obvious that this was the energy signature of the Night Luan Empire. A moment later, a starship in the shape of a peach blossom appeared in the open space. It was clearly teleported here through precise coordinate. Back in the space-time tunnel, he could only see the shape of the Night Phoenix starship on the surface, but now that he was closer, he realized that this starship was not made of ordinary materials. Its entire body was cast with extremely strong and pure energy, just like the inverse source crystal. When the energy gathered and evolved into a solid state, it looked like a crystal. This peach blossom petal looked like a spoon, but it was unknown how many crystals similar to inverse source crystals were used to create this spoon. Such a starship was many times stronger than the battleships of the human world. It was simply an invincible flying unit in the universe. No wonder the Night Luan Empire could travel billions of light years. They relied on this starship. Many dots of light appeared in the empty space. The dots of light turned into shadows. Finally, people walked out of the shadows. They were indeed beautiful women. The leader of the group was actually wearing the Steel Legion galactic armor of the Nuashing Empire's female soldiers. Ji Chenxue frowned. "There's no such person as Jiru in the Empire's military." Ding Meng smiled. "Don't you think it's interesting? They're clearly from the Night Luan. They used to wear very retro clothes, but after entering the Empire, they were attracted to these fashions. Isn't it the nature of women to love beauty?" Ji Chenxue smiled. I didn't think that a straight man like you would understand these things. After the Night Luan starship appeared, even the thunderstorm in the sky was affected. There wasn't much thunder and lightning in this area. However, something unexpected happened that Ding Meng didn't expect. The Spoon starship kept emitting circles of light. These radio-like lights stuck close to the ground and spread towards the ground. After 3 circles, the Divine Arrow starship at the foot of the mountain revealed its original form. Its camouflage system had been pierced through by the Spoon starship. Jiru stopped in her tracks. Her eyes were filled with surprise. There are still remnants of Mao Xing here. Emolan was also surprised. This damned Mao Xing had been hiding here all this time. Fortunately, they invited the general. Emolan immediately went forward. Aunt Jiru, there are demons here. Seeing Emolan, Jiru's dignified expression calmed down a lot. Fortunately, niece Emolan. Leave this to me. Her face suddenly darkened. Men, go over there and find the remnants of Mao Xing. Kill all the women, leave the men. Before she could finish, she was interrupted by a voice. Don't waste your energy. Everyone was shocked. There was a ripple in the air. Ding Meng and Ji Chenxua finally appeared. Jiru frowned again. As expected, it's the remnants of Mao Xing. They're actually divine light martial artists. As she spoke, the corners of her eyes rose. An imperceptible charm energy silently flowed towards Ding Meng. Under normal circumstances, when a normal human male's brain received this presence, her image would be like a fairy descending from the divine light. She would be fixed in the other's mind for a long time, causing them to be infatuated with her. However, when this presence entered Ding Meng's body, Ding Meng's lips curled into a strange smile. He was completely fine. Jiru was secretly shocked. She already judged that this person's strength was extraordinary. He Ning was also shocked. He exclaimed, Ding Meng? I didn't expect you to still be alive. Ding Meng, Ji Zong, Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi also cried out in shock. They never would have dreamed that Ding Meng would appear in this place. Ding Meng smiled at Chu Shaoqing. Miss Chu, Xing Yi, long time no see. It's been almost 10 years? I'm sorry you've been wronged. It's all my fault. Hearing this, Chu Xiaoqing's beautiful eyes turned red. She had been implicated in the Hidden Front space station incident and had been locked up in her home for several years. When she was finally released, she didn't expect the Fertile Chalk star system to undergo such a drastic change. The entire empire had been reduced to the playthings of these Night Luan martial artists. Although these women were still alive and the Night Luan martial artists wouldn't do anything to them, to the minority of people who still had a fighting spirit, they were already prisoners and slaves. They had lost all hope in life and the world. Now that she suddenly saw Ding Meng, Chu Shaoqing felt a lump in her throat and had the urge to cry. It was as if she had suddenly found light and support. Thinking about it carefully, this was indeed the case. Ever since they were at the Leaston Academy, Ding Meng had always faced almost impossible missions. However, Ding Meng was always able to walk out of despair and create miracles. Chu Shaoqing had never believed in a savior, but now, if there was anyone in the human world who could save the Norse Empire, it was definitely Ding Meng. For a moment, she couldn't control herself. She led Xing Yi towards Ding Meng and Ding Meng. Emolan's face darkened. Stop. Chu Shaoqing didn't seem to hear her at all. She was completely immersed in the joy of reunion. Emolan's face was extremely ugly. You 2 pieces of trash, didn't you hear my order? Stop and get back here. Chapter 1062. In response to Emolan's shout, Chu Shaoqing and the other person clearly leaned towards Ding Meng. Not only did they not stop, they even walked faster. This time, Emolan's expression became extremely ugly. She coldly waved her hand. Kill these 2 useless trash for me. Beside Jiru, a tall and slender Night Luan martial artist immediately extended a jade finger. With a light flick, 2 pink dots of light shot towards Chu Shaoqing and the other person's backs. As an interstellar expert, killing a War God-level origin ability user was a simple matter of reaching out a hand. The two dots of light looked like fireflies in the pitch-black darkness, but in reality, they contained an irresistible energy. However, the dots of light did not attack according to the martial artist's will. On the contrary, their trajectories suddenly changed. The two dots of light seemed to have collided with an invisible wall of air. After turning a corner, they quickly rose into the sky. Just then, there was the sound of thunder in the sky. The moment the lightning flashed, everyone's expression became stern, strange, and serious. Emolan was furious. "Ignorant human, you dare to go against my will!" A bit interesting. Jiru looked at Ding Meng with great interest. She was already planning how to enjoy this man later. He was so young and already had such good strength. It would be a great improvement for her. Henning suddenly said, "Ding Meng, your luck is really great. You actually managed to find this place." Ding Meng smiled. "The reason is very simple. I've already dealt with He Ji. Naturally, I can find this place." Henning's expression changed. "You killed a member of my He clan?" Ding Meng leisurely said, "If I killed him, then I killed him. Do you think you didn't kill enough people in the past? Especially Madame Long Lin and Miss Guan Lin. I haven't settled this debt with you yet." Henning smiled sinisterly. "I'm very clear about your strength. If you want to move against me, you don't seem to be enough." He suddenly turned to look at Jiru and loudly shouted, "This divine light martial artist has cultivated AIG's technique. I'm afraid he'll be more useful to you." Who knew that Jiru would look at him with a smile? "I have no enmity with him. You should take revenge for your disciple first." These interstellar cultivators were all very astute. How would they believe the words of others so easily? Henning had no choice but to turn to face Ding Meng again. "No wonder I couldn't sense Cancer's presence. You were the one who killed He Ji. Today, I will not let you live." Ding Meng did not answer. Instead, it was Ji Chenxue who took 2 steps forward. "There's no need for Ding Meng to do anything. He can deal with you and me." Henning's eyes revealed a trace of ridicule. "Jizong, do you still think that you're the CEO of Beta Group? This is outer space, not your federal empire." Ji Chenxue also grasped Ding Meng's attitude perfectly. He stretched out his hand and hooked his finger at the other party. "It doesn't matter where we are." Henning did not waste any more words. His entire body turned into a black tornado and directly swept out. Halfway through, this evil wind split into 2 and attacked together in a very strange way. It looked like he was going to crush Ji Chenxue to death. The speed was so fast that it made people's hair stand on end. At least, the afterimages were impossible to capture in the eyes of people like Chu Shaoqing. The 2 tornadoes arrived in the blink of an eye. However, in the gap between the 2 attacks, a white light flew out with a whoosh. In the middle of the empty space, the 2 people seemed to have switched positions before revealing their true bodies. Henning's face was filled with shock. Only a few years had passed. How did this woman's strength improve so quickly? In terms of speed, she was not inferior to him. After a short moment of shock, Henning revealed a sinister smile. He gathered all his strength and slammed his palms forward. In the next moment, the air in front of Ji Chenxue suddenly split open. 2 black ghostly hands grabbed at Ji Chenxue's face with an extremely sharp momentum. This demon celestial emperor hand was a relatively high-level demon's martial arts technique. Its main purpose was to catch people off guard. The ghostly hands had clearly torn apart Ji Chenxue's face, but Ji Chenxue's figure gradually faded. This was clearly an afterimage. The other party had already expected this move. Henning was not surprised. His attention was already focused behind him because Ji Chenxue would most likely appear behind him. At this moment, Ningyu suddenly warned, "Be careful." Everyone raised their heads. A white light flashed in the sky. Ji Chenxue had teleported into the air. He put his palms together and pushed forward. A white spherical energy bomb immediately shot down. Everyone present immediately felt the energy fluctuation of the divine light energy. Normally, Henning would have raised his hand to block it, but this time, he chose to quickly dodge to the side. When Ningyu spoke, he also felt that Ji Qinshue's aura had suddenly increased by a few levels. In an instant, he had reached the level of a high-level martial arts fighter. Boom! The energy bomb did not explode when it hit the metallic ground. Instead, it immediately expanded and turned into a huge eye of light. The light was so bright that people could not open their eyes. Henning looked back. The eye of light was almost the size of a small spaceship. How did this woman become so powerful in such a short time? Could it be that she had a fortuitous encounter in the Cancer series? That was close. Fortunately, he did not block it with his bare hands. Of all the things he should not have done, he should not have turned around to take a look. The moment he turned his head, Ji Qinshui miraculously appeared behind him. It was too late for Ningyu to warn him. Pop! This sound was like a balloon being popped. Henning felt as if something had drilled into his back. The origin points of his entire body immediately froze. His chest suddenly felt cold. He lowered his head in shock and found that something had drilled out of his chest. It was the tip of Ling Xian's blade that was condensed from the essence of the god light. This scene stunned Ji-Ru and the others. This noble human girl had pierced through Henning's chest with a single blade. Her attack was so vicious. You! Henning turned his head with difficulty. What answered him was a few merciless swish 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 sounds. Ji Qinshue's small hand trembled slightly. The snowflake-like blade flashed in a dazzling manner. The empty space suddenly became as bright as day. Ningyu also opened his mouth wide in shock. Henning, who was in his devil form, was cut into a dozen pieces by these few blades. After being cut into 8 pieces, the devil in his atomized form turned into a dozen clouds of black mist that were rotating in the air. Ji Qinshue's left hand slapped out from under his ribs. With a loud bang, a large amount of essence of the god light flowed out like water. The dozens of balls of black fog were immediately washed away. Until Ji Qinshui stopped and stood still, everyone present was still immersed in the great shock. General Henning was killed in less than half a minute. It was the kind of killing that destroyed both his spirit and soul. This general of the demons who had been hiding in the Norse Empire had been killed in such a simple and violent manner. For so many years, he had been in spirit form and possessed an origin ability user. Then, he had absorbed enough energy from the origin ability user to turn back into demons. This process was very long. It could be said that living was very difficult, but dying was very easy. Ji-Ru also looked at Ji Qinshui with great interest. Her eyes were filled with admiration. This woman was not bad. She could be recruited as a capable subordinate. Ji Qinshui, however, turned his gaze to Ningyu. Your companion is dead. Ningyu had already calmed down. There was no sadness or joy on his face. Demons were all like this. They did not have any human emotions. They only cared about benefits. Now that Henning was gone, he would be able to obtain even more energy from the singularity. At this moment, Ding Meng's telepathic message was transmitted. This Ningyu is a helper that Henning found from another star system after escaping from the space-time tunnel. Although he is not looking for clues about the silent entropy, he has killed many innocent life forms. It was very clear that Ding Meng had also captured Ningyu's telepathic message. Ningyu took 2 steps forward and stared straight at Ji Qinshui. This is really beyond my expectations. You couldn't even defeat Henning's subordinate before, but now you have grown to this level. Henning's subordinate was Wen Yang, and Wen Yang's subordinate was an ugly woman. Ji Qinshui was indeed not a match for an ugly woman back then, but now no one dared to underestimate him. Ji Qinshui looked at Ningyu calmly. You too. Ningyu sneered. Is that so? Ji Qinshui did not say anything else. He immediately flew up and waved his hand in midair. Ling Xian's blade had already materialized, and he slashed at Ningyu. Ding! A crisp sound rang out. The blade of light cut into a transparent spherical shield. Not only was the shield sturdy, but there was also a thick electric current flowing on its surface. The blade of light had cut into a steel plate, but it could not penetrate it at all. Ji Qianxue was also shocked. The divine light energy was a natural counter to the power of demons. This blade of light could not even shake the shield in the slightest. One could only imagine how pure and powerful the opponent's energy was. Ningyu spread out his hands and slowly floated up. There was a cruel sneer at the corner of his mouth. "You're not bad, but it's a pity that I'm not General Shao He. I can make use of your body." After speaking, his body shook violently. A gust of black smoke spewed out from his chest. This energy shook Ji Qianxue so much that he half knelt on the ground and slid backwards. Ningyu raised his right hand slightly. Where Ji Qianxue retreated, the metal ground continuously spewed out black energy. Like a fountain, it exploded towards the sky. Large clouds of black smoke exploded like interstellar missiles. Rings of air waves spread out in all directions, forcing people like Ji Ru to retreat. As for the other female soldiers and Emolan, they had already retreated a few hundred meters away. The strength of this demon's warrior was not just at the level of a star warrior. He was at least at the level of a star warrior. He was at the level of Ling Xingwen. Destroying a normal fleet with his bare hands was no problem. The series of explosions caused Ji Qianxue's shoulders, limbs, and abdomen to be hit continuously. His body kept twisting and trembling. In the end, he knelt on one knee with a plop. He panted violently and could not stand up. His beautiful face was covered with a layer of black. He looked very scary. Emolan laughed coldly. "It's good that he's dead. No one will fight with us for resources." Ji Ru also nodded. Star Wars cannot be compared to Star Venerables. When Ji Qianxue raised his head, Ningyu was already floating in front of him. The smile on his face was even more sinister. Although the body of a low-level life form has no growth value, it can be used reasonably in many areas. As soon as he finished speaking, his ghost whiskers immediately wrapped around Ji Qianxue's snow-white neck and lifted Ji Qianxue up. Chapter 1063. Ji Qianxue, who was choked by the tentacles, turned purple. He struggled with all his might, but the tentacles were too tight. There was no way he could break free. Ningyu, on the other hand, suddenly opened his black mouth. It was impossible to describe what kind of abyss this was. It grew in size in an instant, and the inside was filled with jagged teeth that looked like gears. In the middle of the mouth, a small snake that looked like a worm crawled out. The small snake looked like it was going to crawl into Ji Qianxue's mouth, and the big mouth looked like it was going to swallow Ji Qianxue in one gulp. This horrifying scene made Xing Yi, who was far away, bend over and retch. She had never seen such scary demons before. As she lowered her head and retched, Ningyu's eyes suddenly caught sight of Ding Meng, who was standing proudly beside her. Ding Meng's expression was cold. Seeing that Ji Qianxue was about to be swallowed, he did not seem to care at all. No. Ningyu immediately felt that there was something fishy going on. Humans were different from demons. They cared about feelings. These two guys were obviously a couple. The woman was about to die, but the man turned a blind eye to it. This was too illogical. When she looked down, Ningyu's hair stood on end. Ji Qianxue, who was choking until his face turned purple, did not look like he was having difficulty breathing at all. She smiled slightly, and her lips curled into a smile. Phew! Ji Qianxue's presence rose again. It was the presence of a Black Star warlord. *T. I've been tricked. This was Ningyu's first reaction. Then, there was no more then. He saw Ji Qianxue suddenly open his mouth and spit out a ball of glowing saliva at him. Then, his vision tilted and he saw the thunderstorm in the sky. However, in everyone's vision, Ji Qianxue did not spit out saliva. Instead, it was a ball of holy light essence. This ball of energy turned into a holy light thorn with lightning speed. The holy light thorn pierced through the shield effortlessly and pierced into Ning Yu's mouth. The bloody mouth immediately closed and returned to normal. As for the small snake, it turned into nothingness. Ning Yu flew backward. The holy light thorn pierced his mouth and came out from the back of his neck, completely piercing through his neck. Ning Yu didn't even land on the ground. With a boom, a stream of divine light energy covered him. Just like Henning, he was turned into ashes by the enormous divine light torrent. The empty space once again returned to darkness and silence. Only the Night Luan star ship continued to flicker with pink light, illuminating the faces of the many martial artists present. Chu Shaoqing, Xing Yi, and the female soldiers stood rooted to the ground, dumbstruck. Ji Qinxue had used an unimaginable method to annihilate such a powerful demon race warrior. It was as if Henning and Ning Yu had never appeared at this place. Clap, 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 Ji Ru suddenly clapped. Not bad at all. What's your name? Before Ji Qinxue could answer, Mo Lan said coldly, I know her. She's Ji Qinxue. She's the #1 beauty of the Norse Empire. She's called the national goddess. I didn't expect her to be more than a pretty face. These words were very sour. The women of the Night Phoenix Empire were proud of their looks, but compared to the natural Ji Qinxue, they paled in comparison. They originally thought that the national goddess was just a vassal of the men. They didn't expect her to have some skills. Ji Ru smiled. All right, Ji Qinxue. Now I'll give you a chance to rise to the next level. Join our Night Phoenix Empire and you'll receive endless cultivation resources. You'll have the martial arts techniques of your dreams. All the men in the Empire will be at your disposal. You'll become an expert at the peak of power. Ji Qinxue revealed her beautiful smile again. I'm very sorry. I don't have much need for cultivation resources. I already have the martial arts techniques of my dreams. As for men, I don't need all the men in the Empire to revolve around me. My man is standing over there right now. I'm already very satisfied to have him in my life. Ji Ru was still smiling, but her smile was cold. So you're saying that you're the same as General Chu and the others? Stubborn and unrepentant. Ding Meng spoke at this time. Chen Shui. Ji Qinxue understood and obediently retreated to Ding Meng's side. The two of them had a very good tacit understanding now. Ding Meng's voice meant that this Ji Ru was the truly troublesome person. He was probably not her match. Even if he could win, the price he would have to pay would be very high. Ji Qinxue turned and said, Miss Chu Xing Yi, go to the flying ship. Xinjie is on it. Chu Shaoqing was instantly overjoyed. She had a very good relationship with Xinjie. Hearing that Xinjie was still alive, she was even more overjoyed. When the two of them ran to the Divine Arrow flying ship, Ji Ru finally separated from the crowd and slowly walked forward. A trace of undetectable greed flashed through her eyes. So the person who injured General Ryu was you. Back then, they spent so much effort to send Ryu away in the space-time tunnel. Who would have thought that guy was still alive? These Night Phoenix warriors were really tough. Ding Meng smiled. Do you also want me to join you? Before Ji Ru spoke, Mo Lan shouted, Wash yourself clean tonight and wait for me on the bed. If you serve me well, I'll reward you heavily. Hearing these words from the mouth of a delicate little girl, the feeling was really strange. Ding Meng smiled. Trash when you open your mouth, trash when you close your mouth. Fine, I'll let trash like you live today. I still have use for you. Ji Ru and Mo Lan's expressions changed simultaneously. Ji Ru was clearly not a long-winded person. Her brows furrowed slightly and her eyes lit up. Suddenly, a large cloud of pink dust appeared around Ding Meng. It was shaped like an hourglass, wrapping Ding Meng in the middle. The energy within it was visible to the naked eye, surging madly. Ji Qinxue was slightly shocked. This Ji Ru's aura was at the level of a Black Star warrior. Moreover, this cloud of energy was very complicated. Other than the Night Phoenix warrior's unique seductive aura, it was also filled with kinetic telekinesis and a strong mental interference. Jiru's goal was not to defeat Ding Meng but to make Ding Meng submit to her. Therefore, the divine sense she sent over contained a large amount of erotic images. It was faintly discernible, revealing but not obscene. She knew the psychology of men. If a real jade body was laid out in front of them, men might not be interested. Budding breasts were more likely to arouse men's curiosity. These divine senses directly invaded Ding Meng's brain under the control of telekinesis. Meanwhile, the external energy firmly imprisoned Ding Meng. It was not that Ding Meng did not have any romantic thoughts, but they were only established on women he had feelings for. Ding Meng's heart was firm to begin with. This little bit of mental illusion was nothing to him. The dust energy catalyzed for a full minute before gradually dissipating. Ding Meng was still standing in his original spot, perfectly fine. Ji-Ru expected Ding Meng to have a dazed expression and look at her lustfully. However, this did not happen at all. Ding Meng smiled. Your Night Phoenix Empire really likes to do these crooked things. Ji-Ru was slightly shocked. I've really underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be at the star venerable level. No wonder you heavily injured Ryu. Ding Meng said, Is this all you've got? Ji-Ru's expression darkened. Ignorant human. I'll let you experience the supreme power of this universe. She suddenly raised her hand, and a pink singularity flung out from her fingertip. The singularity did not fly very quickly, but it extended at least 1,000 pink rays of light midway. These rays of light were straight, curved, intertwined, and warped. They completely enveloped this empty space. It was as if a giant pink jellyfish was attacking Ding Meng. In this situation, it was difficult to even open one's eyes, let alone dodge. Ji Chenxue took a few steps back. She was secretly shocked. Even the energy of a random ray of light from this attack had the aura of an interstellar warrior. The Night Phoenix expert was truly terrifying with a pung sound. White origin flames erupted from Ding Meng's body. His aura suddenly increased. At the same time, he stretched out his hand and flicked out a divine light singularity. The singularity flew into the air and directly transformed into a holy light screen. The pure white and bright wall pressed down on the jellyfish. Bang! 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 A series of earth-shattering explosions rang out. The entire earth was trembling, and the ground was constantly being torn apart. At the same time, huge cracks were spreading in all directions. The Divine Arrow spaceship and Night Phoenix spaceship in the distance had already risen into the air. If they did not dodge in time, this violent energy wave would cause damage to the spaceship. The huge explosion lasted for a minute. Only a patch of pink light and a patch of white light could be seen on the ground, forming an indescribable chaos. Countless sand and stones were flying everywhere. After a while, when the smoke dissipated, the empty space had already disappeared. It had become a black hole the size of a football field. Ding Meng and Ji-Ru stood at the edge of the huge hole. Ji-Ru's face finally revealed an expression of shock. This was because Ding Meng was still completely unharmed. Looking at his casual expression, it was as if he did not care about her attack at all. You! Ji-Ru was scared out of her wits. She mumbled, Impossible, this is definitely impossible. What she thought was impossible was that Ding Meng, as a human, was this strong. This was like a bug. After it had undergone cultivation, even if its body expanded to the size of a human, no matter how strong it was, it could at most bite a horse to death. However, this bug was so strong that it would be fine even if a tiger or a lion took a bite out of it. With a swoosh, Ji-Ru suddenly flew into the air. Her palms formed a heart shape and she said coldly, Taste this? The moment she said that, a pink energy wave suddenly shot out from the heart shape. This energy wave was not pure Night Phoenix spaceship's psionic energy. There were many peach blossom images in it, and the energy wave was at least twice as strong as the previous singularity. Not good. Ding Meng's eyes were sharp. He immediately realized that this sneaky thing's target was not him but the Arrow spaceship floating in the distance. It was not difficult for the Black Star War supremacy to destroy a split Arrow spaceship. With a swoosh, Ding Meng also flashed into the air. His palms glowed brightly as he activated the diamond star melting art. His palms immediately caught the energy wave. Jiru sneered. You dare to take it head-on? Then you will die. Chapter 1064. Ding Meng quickly realized how powerful this energy flow was. First of all, his palms felt like they were being torn apart. It felt as if his palms had been scalded and sprinkled with chili powder. One had to know that his palms had been tempered thousands of times and strengthened by the diamond star melting art, yet they still felt this way. Of course, it was extremely difficult to resist this energy flow with just his palms. An endless stream of Night Luan spiritual energy was being guided into his smelting space by the diamond star melting art to be converted. The conversion speed was definitely not as fast as the absorption speed, so most of it was diverted to the various origins. The origins were now in a vortex state and could barely withstand it. Ding Meng secretly channeled his power and transferred the divine light essence to his palms. His palms formed a layer of bright cross-shaped stars, and the burning pain on his palms immediately lessened. Jiru was shocked again. I thought you were a fake divine light martial artist. I didn't expect you to have the divine light inheritance. Die for me. Boom! Jiru's entire body also erupted with dust and flames. This made her look like a mixture of an angel and a devil floating in the sky. Her beautiful face was like an angel, but she had the ferocious expression of a devil. Whoosh! The pink energy flow turned into a solid pillar of light at a speed visible to the naked eye. This time, even the fluctuations could be seen with the naked eye. Halos of light spread out in all directions, and the distant hills were slowly collapsing from the vibrations. Ji Chenxue also flew into the air. Otherwise, even she would have been affected. This kind of battle was beyond anything she had seen before. Seeing Jiru pouring energy into it, Ding Meng was also annoyed. Do you really think you have a chance of winning against me? All the vortex-shaped origins were activated. He put his palms together and pushed forward. The pure white divine light pillar was also pushed out. Once again, it became a white and a pink energy that confronted each other in the air. Even the night sky was illuminated, and the rolling thunderclouds were all ignited. However, Ding Meng's light pillar clearly had the upper hand. It was pressing down on Jiru bit by bit. Right now, Jiru's palm was also in intense pain. She felt as if there were millions of needles stabbing into her palm. The opponent's energy aura was vigorous and peerless. She even felt that her breathing was somewhat disordered. The origin points in her body were frantically spinning and were actually on the verge of disintegrating. At this point, Jiru no longer looked down on Ding Meng. She had completely treated Ding Meng as her greatest enemy. At this moment, Jiru's hair was disheveled and her expression was ferocious. The dust and flames around her had already spread out like a hurricane. Clearly, she had pushed her energy to the limit. Little fellow, face the judgment of fate. Jiru let out an angry bellow and spread her palms slightly to the sides. The heart-shaped hand gesture immediately became larger, and the pink light pillar in the sky rapidly expanded by several times, completely becoming a strengthened version of the interstellar orbital cannon. In an instant it engulfed the divine light pillar. With a swoosh, Ding Meng's arm transformed into a white Qilin arm. His palms, which were pressed together, separated slightly. The moment he sensed Ding Meng's aura, Ji Chenxue knew that Ding Meng had used the Bright Spirit secret technique of the Ardent Sun Divine technique to catalyze the rotation of the vortex, greatly increasing his own energy within a short period of time. During these 5 years of cultivation, Ji Qinshui had no idea how much Ding Meng had grown. However, now that he had seen it for himself, the aura ripples that Ding Meng had revealed were an exaggerated amount of 106 trillion points. Ji Qinshui was stunned on the spot. Ding Meng had actually broken through to become an interstellar martial master. Ji Ru's face instantly contorted. She was only a high-level interstellar martial paragon. Compared to an interstellar martial master, the difference between them was obvious. Kiki, do you think that we Night Phoenix martial artists are so easily defeated? Jiru laughed coldly once again. At this moment, a strange change occurred. The Night Phoenix starship, which was floating not far away, suddenly emitted a strong light. The entire starship turned into an oval-shaped pink light pupil. A thick ray of light shot out from the pink pupil and instantly enveloped Jiru. Jiru's aura actually continued to increase at an exponential rate. The pink light pillar in midair expanded once again and pushed back. What was going on? The Night Phoenix starship seemed to be providing Jiru with an endless supply of energy? Ding Meng frowned. He quickly figured out the crux of the matter. The Peach Blossom starship seemed to be made from energy crystals. The starship itself was an energy treasure trove that could provide energy to the martial artists at any time. This was equivalent to having a huge amount of resources with them. No matter how strong the enemy was, they wouldn't have to be afraid. This was also the reason why the Night Phoenix Empire's fleet was able to sweep through the various galaxies. Ding Meng's eyes turned cold. He released a large psychic wall that surged directly into the depths of the clouds. This time, he didn't use the Astral Sea Code's high-level psychic art. Instead, he used electromagnetic force to guide the lightning in the sky. The clouds churned violently. The dark clouds were like thousands of soldiers and horses gathering together. The dark clouds in the sky pressed down. After a bolt of lightning that shocked the world flashed, there was a scorching sound. A huge and twisted bolt of lightning came crashing down from the heavens. It was simply divine lightning descending from the heavens, shaking the heavens and earth. The lightning didn't strike a person, but rather the Peach Blossom starship. The enormous pink pupils were somewhat twisted because of the lightning. One moment they were oval, the next moment they were stretched like two eggs, and the next moment they returned to normal. However, no matter what they did, it was obvious that the starship itself was not damaged at all. Ding Meng's train of thought was easy to understand. Since your starship is a treasure trove, then I'll summon lightning to strike your starship and interfere with Jiru's energy injection. However, this move obviously wouldn't work. The Night Phoenix starship's powerful defensive capabilities weren't just for show. Jiru raised her head and laughed. Ha 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 ha, how stupid. How can my Night Phoenix starship be shaken by your little lightning? After she finished speaking, she spread her palms even further apart. Even more energy poured out. If it could be described, the pink pillar of light in the sky was like a steel pipe, while the divine light pillar was like a pencil. It was obvious which was stronger and which was weaker. A cold light flashed in Ding Meng's eyes. Since you want to die, then I'll grant you your wish. The first galactic origin in his heart was finally activated. At this moment, not only did his energy increase again, a scorching and domineering aura spread out like a wave. Ji Qinshui was shocked numb. Ding Meng's index suddenly soared to 277 trillion points. Domineering, powerful, terrifying, exaggerated, majestic, these words weren't enough to describe how terrifying Ding Meng was. However, Jiru seemed to have realized something. Her face suddenly became terrified. The aura of planet AIG? You're actually a remnant of the heaven-defying sovereign king. Then, her expression became twisted. She raised her head and howled, "Kill!" Ji Qinshui could not help but cover her ears when she heard her howl. It was too ear-piercing. However, the corners of Ding Meng's mouth curled up into a cold smile. The divine light essence he shot out from his palms was like a tsunami, instantly blocking the opponent's beam of light. Moreover, there was a strong tendency for it to backfire. What? That's impossible. Giroux's expression was almost crazy. Continue releasing energy, continue. The pilot of the Peach Blossom starship had probably increased the power of the crystal again. The pupil of the light had stretched to almost a straight line, and the two ends of the straight line were twisting pink energy streams that poured into Giroux's head and chest. Ji Chenxue was completely numb. Giroux's aura was actually above Ding Meng's. What kind of freaks were these experts? The amount of energy was like a bottomless pit. However, at this time, Ding Meng opened his mouth and laughed. Go in peace. When you go to hell, become the sovereign king's slave. Let him torture you. He hates Unite Luans to the bone. Giroux finally stopped talking. Her body was like Henning and Ningyu before, disintegrating bit by bit in the huge torrent. In the end, she turned into nothingness. Similarly, nothing was left behind. Everyone was dumbfounded. What was going on? The divine light pillar clearly didn't drown her. How was she destroyed? Following Giroux's destruction, the divine light pillar shot into the sky like a cannonball. It was like a shooting star sliding into the depths of the vast universe. Whoosh! In the next instant, Ding Meng's figure flashed to the side of a mountain several thousand meters away. Emo Lan hid behind the rock, trembling. The group of female soldiers was also there. However, they weren't afraid. They already knew that this man was General Chu's good friend and wouldn't harm them. You. Why? Emo Lan retreated in fear. She no longer had the arrogance from before. Ji Chenxue also floated down from the sky. She also asked, yes, why? Ding Meng smiled and said, it's very simple. Although using the starship to inject energy is an excellent method, how can the base of an interstellar martial supreme withstand the energy of a martial master? Ji Chenxue suddenly understood. Yes, from the extent of their attacks, Giroux was at most a high-level martial supreme. Using the starship to inject energy, she could barely reach the level of a beginner martial master. If she continued to inject energy, then the origin in her body wouldn't be able to withstand the excessive energy. Sooner or later, she would explode and die. This was in line with the theory of Little Rascal's container. However, as an expert, it was impossible for Giroux not to understand this logic. However, after Ding Meng released the aura of a sovereign king, her rage made her lose her rationality. She was very clear that either she destroyed Ding Meng or she would be destroyed. All the people of Night Luan had experienced how tyrannical sovereign King Ling Tian was when he was alive. Thus, the starship strengthened its energy. The result was a tragedy. The origin and body couldn't withstand the energy, and she directly turned into ashes. Strictly speaking, she wasn't defeated by Ding Meng. She killed herself. After thinking this through, Ji Chenxue once again looked at Ding Meng with admiration. Ding Meng was Ding Meng. Ding Meng might not be the strongest, but his experience and adaptability were unmatched. Right now, the Peach Blossom starship in the sky had returned to normal. However, the color of the starship was much dimmer. It was obvious that Giroux had squandered too much energy. The starship actually didn't run away. From this, one could see Mo Lan's importance. If those cultivators abandoned General Mo Yan's daughter and ran away on their own, they would probably die when they returned. Their deaths might even be worse. Ding Meng looked at Mo Lan with a smile. I said before that I still have a use for you. Now, have your starship come down and everyone get out here. Mo Lan opened her mouth slightly. With her personality, she was prepared to curse out loud. However, she couldn't spit out any harsh words. She could only wave her hands and make a few strange gestures above her head. Sure enough, the Peach Blossom starship slowly descended. Many dots of light came from the ground one after another. About 30 to 40 Night Luan cultivators appeared one after another. All of them had their heads lowered, afraid that they would accidentally anger Ding Meng and be destroyed with a wave of his hand. The divine arrow starship also floated down from the distance. Exhilarating and the other two happily rushed down. Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi's eyes were red. They had seen the scene of the earth-shattering battle through the radar. They were simply overwhelmed with emotions and tears of joy. Even a fierce woman like Ji Ru had been taken care of by Ding Meng. It didn't seem like there was no hope for them to deal with the invincible Mo Yin in the future. Chapter 1065. The previously insufferably arrogant Knight Luan martial artists were now standing in a row in front of Ding Meng, as if they were prisoners waiting to be executed. Ding Meng revealed a strange expression as he slowly said, "Where is the other person?" Mo Lan and the others didn't understand. Ding Meng said meaningfully, "You should thank me." Mo Lan frowned. "If you want to use me to threaten my mother, I advise you to give up on that idea. The consequences of doing so are very serious." Ding Meng smiled. "If your mother were here in person today, she would thank me right now." Mo Lan was confused. "What do you mean?" Ding Meng said, "If I wasn't here, not only would you be dead today, but everyone here would be dead too." The group looked at each other. No one understood what Ding Meng was saying. However, Ding Meng didn't seem to have had enough. Ding Meng didn't seem to be pretending to be mysterious. Ding Meng held his hands behind his back and looked at the rolling clouds in the sky. He stood there quietly like a silent statue. After some time, Ding Meng suddenly sighed. "Stop hiding. Come out." Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Could there be other experts in this place? They looked around and found that there was no one else on this empty planet. At this moment, a bone-chilling voice sounded. "How did you find me?" This voice was clearly an androgynous electronic voice. It sounded in everyone's ears, but it also seemed to come from the sky. Everyone looked up. The sky was empty, so empty that there wasn't even a trace of energy. However, everyone was sure that this wasn't an illusion. Ding Meng suddenly said, "I didn't notice you at first. However, when the Knight Luan starship was infusing energy into Ji Ru, I felt your presence. You hid very well. It was only for a fraction of a second. If I wasn't careful, I would have thought it was an illusion." The synthetic voice sounded again. The voice seemed to be sighing. "This Ji Ru is too crazy. She clearly didn't have absolute confidence in dealing with you, but she insisted on absorbing the starship's energy. She forced me to change my disguise. I only used a little bit of energy. I didn't expect you to notice me." Everyone looked at Ding Meng in shock. Even the experienced and knowledgeable Knight Luan martial artists felt their scalps tingle. Ding Meng seemed to be conversing with a mysterious ghost. Ding Meng said calmly, "It's useless for you to hide now. Come out." Ji Qinshua's expression suddenly changed. She could already feel an extremely mysterious and powerful yet familiar aura appear in the air. Not long after, everyone else's expressions also changed. Because they were weaker, they could also feel it now. The air in front of Ding Meng rippled like water. Soon, a human figure appeared. He had a handsome face and a calm demeanor. He stood in front of Ding Meng like a javelin. Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi couldn't help but cry out in surprise, "President Wenyang!" "No," Ji Qinshui refuted. "He's not President Wenyang. The Real Wenyang was poisoned to death by the Dark Knight Demoness on Planet 32. I saw him die with my own eyes." Chu Shaoqing and Xing Yi were stunned. "Then who is he?" Exhilarating asked. Ding Meng's expression was ice-cold. "He's the Mother Body. The Mother Body of the true Devil Clan." Mo Lan's expression became even more shocked. The true Devil Kingdom of the 6 territories was destroyed long ago. How could there be a Mother Body? Ding Meng's interest was immediately piqued. "Oh? When did this happen?" Mo Lan quickly said, "After the fall of the Aig Xing Kingdom, the Mao Xing Kingdom was also destroyed. Later, the Queen also destroyed the true Devil Kingdom. The true Devil Kingdom didn't have a Mother Body, only a Devil King. He fled long ago like the Heaven High King. Wen Yang smiled. Little girl, you know quite a lot. Ding Meng looked at Wen Yang with a complicated expression. You're the Devil King of the true Devil Kingdom? Wen Yang smiled. You can understand it that way. Ding Meng shook his head. No, you're not the real Devil King. You're the spirit body of the Devil King. The Devil King was surprised. It's not easy for you to think of this. Emolan immediately stood up and said coldly, the Devil King of the true Devil Kingdom was originally one of the overlords of the 6 territories and was also the ally of the Heaven High King. However, you were persuaded by our queen and worked with her to severely injure the Heaven High King. Later, you betrayed the queen and were injured by her. I didn't expect you to escape here. Her intention to sow discord was obvious. When she saw that Ding Meng was on the king's side, she immediately revealed this information. What she meant was that this demon king was not only the king's enemy, but also the queen's mortal enemy. Ding Meng should immediately eliminate the other party. Unexpectedly, the Devil King smiled again. Little girl, I can understand that you're the king of the starship. However, if you want to order people around in the outside world, you have to be strong enough. Ding Meng stared at the Devil King and said hesitantly, You're also looking for the Holy Palace, right? The Devil King said, Why do you ask? Ding Meng said, This is just my guess. The Devil King looked at Ding Meng with interest. What did you guess? Why don't you tell me about it? I've always had high expectations of you. Ding Meng nodded. You're the Devil King of the true Devil Kingdom and the king's ally. I'm guessing that the reason you betrayed the king is not because of the queen's beauty. The Devil King smiled and nodded. You're right. I don't know why you're so interested in a woman's body. In any case, I'm not interested. Ding Meng said, I'm afraid that what you're really interested in is the entropy solitude, the Holy Palace, the strongest power in the legends. However, I don't understand. The king is the most likely person to find the Holy Palace. You can only come into contact with it if you follow him. However, if you follow the queen, it's not that you won't be able to find it, but the chances are much lower. You're the ruler of the true Devil Kingdom. You shouldn't be so selfish. The Devil King let out a long sigh. You don't understand. You've never really come into contact with the king. You don't understand how tyrannical and dictatorial he is. If he really finds the Holy Palace, he won't share it with outsiders. Not even a little bit. He'll only keep it for himself. Ding Meng nodded. Top-level masters had always been like this. This was because top-level resources were like the women they loved the most. How could they share their women with others? So that's why you decided to betray the king and work with the queen? Ding Meng asked. The Devil King shook his head. There's no such thing as betrayal. It's just a matter of interest. The queen can find the Holy Palace, but she's not much better than the king. I just saw that the rulers of the other 4 territories were convinced by the queen. That's why I considered working with her. Ding Meng said, but after the queen got rid of the king, she also got rid of you. Why is that? The Devil King decisively shut his mouth this time. Ding Meng smiled. It seems like the reason behind this is very powerful. If I'm not wrong, long before your physical body died, you've already discovered the king's entropy solitude, the Mao Xing royal family, and the demon's pursuit. You followed this general direction and came here. That's right. The Devil King did not deny it this time. Ding Meng analyzed. But at that time, you were already an astral body. The celestial race and the demons are all perfect people. I estimated that you were no match for them at all, so you found a place to hide. The Devil King stared at Ding Meng as if he wanted to see through Ding Meng's heart. Ding Meng said, You chose a very secluded place. That was the Cretaceous system's heavenly silkworm planet. You should have been hiding there for many years. When your astral body's energy was almost fully recovered, you entered the Pan-Shin system. The Devil King did not reply. His expression was very cold. Ding Meng said, No, the place you originally chose was not the heavenly silkworm planet, but the extreme flame planet of the God War planet ring. The energy there is abundant, and it's very beneficial for your recovery. That's your real base. The Devil King looked up with surprise in his eyes. How did you know? Ding Meng said, when I was on the flame planet, I always felt that the black butterfly demon queen should not have been so polite to me. She let me go so easily and even gave me the divine light wrist guard. How can there be such a good thing in this world? There is no such thing as love and hatred for no reason. The Devil King said, Are you suspecting her? Ding Meng said, I did not suspect her at first. It was not until I met you that I began to suspect that she was actually one of your people. The Devil King frowned. Why? Ding Meng said, First, when I met you under the heavenly silkworm planet, you refused to show your true face. I began to suspect that it was not that you did not want to show your face, but that you could not show your face. This proved that your true identity was too powerful. Second, even when you appeared in the form of a ghost face, I still felt that your aura was exactly the same as the Black Butterfly Demon Queen's aura. You two should belong to the same origin. The Devil King sighed. So, you followed my orders and went to Planet 32? Ding Meng nodded. You should have completed the energy recovery of your spirit body on the extreme flame planet. Then, you sneaked into the Cretaceous system and attacked the Pan-God system. Finally, you set your sights on the Fertile Chalk system. As the leader of the frogs, you started a war with the Norse Empire that lasted almost 500 years. Chu Shaoqing was shocked. Is that how our war with the frogmen came about? Ding Meng shook his head. Not only that. His ultimate goal was the Holy Temple. Before the Holy Temple, he had to find solitary entropy. If he could not find it, then he had to find the divine light formation left behind by the Mouse Star royal family and the demonic wind formation left behind by the demons. The divine light formation contained a large amount of energy, while the demonic wind formation could open a large spacetime tunnel. Only with these two conditions could he possibly find clues to the Holy Temple. The key to these conditions was the rainforest deep in the Fertile Chalk system. He knew this secret from the beginning, which was why he started the war with the frogs. Xing Yi looked at the Devil King and then at Ding Meng. She could not help but say, I don't understand. His spirit body is already so powerful. Isn't it easy to take down the Fertile Chalk system? Why did he spend so much effort to create such a powerful frogs and even fight with the Empire for centuries? Isn't this unnecessary? Chapter 1066. Faced with Xing Yi's question, Ding Meng could not help but smile bitterly and shake his head. You're oversimplifying things. Actually, I'm oversimplifying things too. This True Shifters Nation's Demon King's calculations are far more complicated and shrewd than we imagined. I even suspect that the Green Tree Race, Steel Mane Nation, and Devouring World are all his trick. The Demon King looked at Ding Meng with great interest. Oh? Tell me about it. Ding Meng looked him in the eye. I heard that the True Shifters are the best at shape-shifting and can coexist with all kinds of life forms. They can also adapt to extremely complicated and harsh environments. However, they themselves are nothing special. At the very least, they cannot be compared to the people of Agi, Mao, demons, and Night Luan. The Demon King nodded. I admit that. Ding Meng said. You followed the Sovereign King, the Celestials, and the demons to Sacred Glory's main star system. Even if you're in spirit form, you can't completely hide your track. At the very least, the Elder Princess and the Demon Monarch should know that there are people from the 6 territories following you. Don't the Night Luan warriors have representatives in the human world? The Demon King continued to nod. Yes, Ding Meng said. If you had shown yourself at that time, Henning and the others could have easily destroyed you. So you had to hide quietly. What's the purpose of hiding? It's to waste time. After a long period of time, your opponents will also be in spirit form. Then, everyone will be back to the same starting line, and you will have a huge lead over the other races. At that time, you can openly start the Fertile Chalk Star System war and reach out to the Rainforest System. The Demon King smiled. Is it that simple? Ding Meng said seriously. No, you're the same as General Henning and Elder Mao Xing. You're all afraid of exposing yourselves. You all have one thing in common, and that is, the stronger you are, the more careful you are. On the surface, the Hidden Front's Long Lin and the Black Handprint's Fifth Lord are both humans. Who would have thought that they were the leaders of the Celestials and Demons? Just like you, no one would have thought that the leader of the Black Frog Clan was actually the spirit body of the Demon King of the true Demon Kingdom. The Demon King muttered, I really didn't expect Henning to be the head of the Hidden Front, and Elder Miao Xing to be the Black Handprint Great Master. Ding Meng said, That's right. The few of you have been doing a lot of small things to eliminate each other's suspicions, but you are the one who has been doing the most. You could have easily taken over the Fertile Chalk Star System, but you just had to send an army to fight the Norse Empire for a few hundred years. This way, Henning and the elders will not suspect you. Of course, there is also a benefit to doing this. The resources that the frogs have taken from the Fertile Chalk Star System can also be used by you. You can't deny that. The Archfiend's expression sank. You're right. At that time, I had already sensed Nanshuan's presence in the Fertile Chalk Star System. Following that, I discovered that the Night Phoenix Empire had sent people over. Ding Meng said, That's why you didn't dare to act rashly. I even suspected that you were the one behind the devouring world. The Demon King smiled evilly. The first-generation immortal elemental queen. She was just a mortal. How could she have survived in the poisonous world of Xiridol? If I hadn't secretly taught her techniques, she would have died a long time ago. Ding Meng also smiled. So, during the devouring world war more than 100 years ago, your Frogman Kingdom pretended to attack the devouring world and completely eliminated the other force's suspicions about you. Hearing this, the Demon King didn't hide it anymore. He smiled evilly and said, I can also tell you a secret. Wen Yang is actually one of my people. Ding Meng was completely shocked. The Demon King said, Think about it carefully. Wen Yang was so young. Why was he so strong back then? Why did he insist on attacking the frogmen in the Fertile Chalk Star System? It was because he had a fortuitous encounter during the Fertile Chalk Star System's war when he was young. I was the one who deliberately let him find the Divine Light Cloak. Ding Meng was shocked. The Divine Light Bracers and Wen Yang's Divine Light Cloak that I got from the Flame Star were secretly controlled by you? The Demon King nodded and said, The Mao Xinggua's Divine Light equipment is of no use to me. It's better to give it to people like you who are useful to me. Ding Meng stared at him. Why? The Demon King said, He got the Divine Light energy and equipment, so he naturally became a Divine Light martial artist. In the future, he would find the Divine Light array sooner or later. Moreover, with the identity of a Divine Light martial artist, I could also fish out the other Mao Xinghua people and demons. I wanted to see who was hiding behind the scenes using human faces. Ding Meng sighed in admiration. What a good plan. However, Wen Yang still died in the end. He was just like the Fairy Elemental King, Dark Knight Demonis. He was used by you from the beginning and didn't even know it. The Demon King's expression was serious. I still neglected a problem. In the human world of the Federal Empire, it's difficult to grasp the ambitions, human nature, and the complexity of your thoughts. People like Wen Yang can be said to be slaves to 3 families. Therefore, he deserved to die. Ding Meng let out a long sigh. He had a very complicated feeling about Wen Yang. Back in the days when they were in the rainforest, he still admired the Empire's leader. For a moment, he even treated Wen Yang as a friend. However, after Wen Yang returned to the empire, he became extremely cruel and terrifying. At that time, although Ding Meng did not agree with Wen Yang's various actions, he did not view Wen Yang as an enemy. Until the end, when the Mao Xingua Temple and the Divine Light Array, Wen Yang completely stood on the opposite side of him, and became his enemy in the truest sense of the word. However, when Wen Yang died, all the right and wrong, love and hatred, all disappeared and turned into sympathy. Yes, Ding Meng was someone who truly sympathized with Wen Yang. Especially when Wen Yang's tragic cries before his death made Ding Meng unable to hate him. Amen, amen. I'm back. I'm finally back. I'm a promising person now. Was Wen Yang's life not like Ding Meng's experience? Perhaps Wen Yang had embarked on the path of evil, but was that what Wen Yang wanted? He had no choice. If possible, Ding Meng might be like Wen Yang, who would rather never leave the small village in the suburbs and live his life by chopping firewood and hunting. The Demon King suddenly interrupted Ding Meng's thoughts. I neglected you even more. In the competition between the major forces, whether in the open or in the dark, you, a weak human, actually grew up. In the end, you actually grew to this point. I really did not expect it. Ding Meng suddenly raised his head and said seriously, "But I thought of something." The Demon King stared at him. "What did you think of?" Ding Meng said, "When the magic light array was activated, your nether sphere mothership was also teleported into the space-time tunnel. You were actually able to become one with your starship. From this, it can be seen that the strength of your soul is far more terrifying than Henning, Jiru, and the others who have true bodies." He paused for a moment before continuing. When the Night Phoenix fleet teleported over, perhaps you already knew how powerful that Moyen was. You knew that you were no match for her, so you had to think of a way to avoid her. If I remember correctly, the Nether Sphere Mothership was the first to attack the Night Phoenix starship. It used energy cannons to freeze the Night Phoenix starship on the surface, but our starship analyzed that it was a strange absorption energy. The Nether Sphere Mothership seemed to want to suck the enemy in, but that was not the case. You had already secretly sent your soul into the Night Phoenix starship through the energy cannons, and then hid on top. In the end, when the Night Phoenix starship attacked the Nether Sphere Mothership, the Nether Sphere Mothership was directly blasted out of the space-time tunnel. At that time, almost everyone thought that you were done for, so they let down their guard. In fact, you were hiding inside the Night Phoenix starship all this time. This time, the Demon King was completely shocked. It's amazing that you could think of all this. Ding Meng said, I'm guessing that you did this to use the Night Phoenix fleet to find clues about the Holy Sanctum. Since you appeared here, I'm guessing that it has something to do with the clues about the Holy Sanctum. Then, the Demon's Singularity and the palace below are most likely the key clues. Otherwise, you wouldn't have taken such a big risk to reveal your true form. Perhaps this has a lot to do with the Queen wanting to get rid of you. The Demon King didn't speak for a long time. After a long time, he sighed and said, If you weren't a divine light martial artist, we could have formed an alliance and achieved great things. Ding Meng smiled. I won't have an ally like you. You can betray the king and the queen. Then, there's no one in this world that you can truly trust. Is that so? The Demon King's expression was a little blank. Then, that's a pity. As he said this, the others, including the two starships, took the initiative to retreat. The smell of gunpowder was already present in the two sides' voices. Ding Meng said, You're indeed powerful, but you're just a spirit. The Demon King revealed a strange smile. Don't you think about it? My spirit state is still not something that you original bodies can compete with. Ding Meng seemed to understand something. He said in surprise, So, you came here to find a life original body that can bear your spirit. The Demon King's expression finally changed. He interrupted him sharply. You know too much. As he spoke, a strange aura erupted from his body. With him as the center, A thick black fog instantly spread out in a 300-meter radius. This wasn't just the energy of the demons. It also contained the powerful poison of the demon race. It was visible to the naked eye that the surface of the Divine Arrow starship and the Peach Blossom starship had rusted. One could imagine how strong the poison was. Ding Meng didn't move, but his exposed skin felt a slight burning sensation. This demon king was a master of both the demons and the devouring world. Seeing that Ding Meng was fine, the demon king sneered. I forgot that you're not the same as the ordinary martial artists of the divine light. You're not afraid of poison. Ding Meng opened his right hand and activated the diamond star-fusing art. All the black fog was sucked into his palm, turning into a condensed black ball. With a flip of his wrist, the black ball disappeared. The Demon King was surprised again. It seems that you didn't live to this day purely by luck. To be honest, it's a pity to kill someone like you. But I can't sleep or eat in peace if I keep you alive. You know too much. Give me your life. Chapter 1067. In the wilderness, the Demon King's figure swayed, and 6 identical Wen-Yangs suddenly appeared, surrounding Ding Meng in a circle. Usually, Ding Meng wouldn't care about such a move. However, at this moment, he couldn't help but be astonished. Regardless of whether it was their figures, appearances, auras, or energy index, these 6 Wen-Yangs were all exactly the same. Moreover, they weren't fake and were the real deal. Even when he scanned them with his psychic vision, he could tell that they were indeed 6 genuine interstellar martial lords. Ding Meng's face darkened. This Demon King who had been hiding behind the scenes was indeed a difficult person to deal with. Come! Ding Meng roared. He did not wait for the other party to make a move and attacked first. He stacked his palms together and a strong light shone from his palms. He swept his palms in all directions. This was Ling Xingqi's signature technique, the omnidirectional slash. It could only be used with a weapon. However, Ding Meng used the divine light essence as a saber and swept it out. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The 6 Wen-Yangs immediately turned into phantoms and were instantly killed. However, the Demon King's real body did not appear. Ding Meng frowned and stared at the empty space in front of him. He seemed to be deep in thought. Chu Shaoqing, who had already boarded the ship, could not help but ask, "Did Ding Meng destroy that monster?" Ji Chenxue also frowned. No. The Demon King cannot be seen, but his aura is still there. Furthermore, it is everywhere. As long as the aura did not disappear, it meant that the other party was not destroyed. More accurately, it was unharmed. But why can't we see him? Xingyi asked. Ji Chenxue did not answer because he could not explain it either. At this moment, Ding Meng had already activated his psychic vision, spirit vision, and sovereign's descent. This was the first time he had used all 3 visions at the same time. He quickly saw that there was a shapeless airflow gathering in the sky. This was clearly the Demon King's real spiritual body. It was almost a soundless and formless existence. This airflow suddenly turned into threads and flew into the distance like smoke. Its target was the entrance to the demon's underground palace. Oh no! Ding Meng cursed inwardly. Previously, he had been fighting too fiercely with Ji Ru and had completely neglected the changes in the underground palace. At this moment, inside the underground palace, all the walls and passageways had completely turned into flesh, mist, and liquid. Everywhere was filled with vitality and aura. An extremely complex aura actually contained the aura of the god race, demons, Night Luan, and the demon race. There was even a trace of the aura of the AIG planet. The current underground palace was exactly the same as the interior of the Void Spirit Ray. Could it be that the underground palace of the demons was an enhanced version of the Void Spirit Ray? The Demon King's spirit body was rushing towards the tunnel at an extremely fast speed. Ding Meng didn't fall behind. Every leap was 1,000 meters away, and she followed closely behind as fast as lightning. Suddenly, Ding Meng stopped in his tracks. The Demon King's spirit body also froze in the air. On the divine arrow flying ship, Ji Chenxue revealed a look of disbelief, so much so that her beautiful face was distorted. Chu Shaoqing and the others were weak and naturally could not sense it. Thus, they could not help but ask, Ji Zong, what's wrong? Ji Chenxue looked at the radar screen. Suddenly, a very powerful aura appeared. Exhilarating saw her rare seriousness and could not help but ask, how powerful is it? Is it stronger than that brat Ding Meng? Ji Chenxue's expression was a little dazed. I can't describe it because I can't estimate it. I never thought that there would be such a powerful force in this world. Hearing her evaluation, Exhilarating and Chu Shaoqing also revealed looks of shock. In the open space at the entrance of the tunnel, almost invisible black dots suddenly appeared in the air. They were so densely packed that it was difficult to count them. Ordinary people would have a hard time discovering them. Only experts like Ding Meng could see them clearly. Not long after, these black dots arranged themselves and formed a black shadow. It looked like a human, but the problem was that it was not a cloud of black mist, but a pure black sheet. It had the outline of a human, but it did not have a face. To be precise, it was a piece of black paper floating there, blocking the path of Ding Meng's Demon King. Seeing this strange scene, everyone's hair stood on end. This was something that no one had ever seen before. Whether it was the Protoss, the demons, the Aig Yiluan, or the Federal Empire, none of them could explain this terrifying scene. What was even more frightening was that the black paper actually let out a dull voice. General Henning? It's me. The Demon King actually took the initiative to answer. At the same time, he changed from his gaseous state to Henning's atomized state and landed on the ground. He walked step by step towards the black paper, as if he was not afraid of it at all. Ding Meng didn't move. He was indeed intimidated by this black piece of paper, because the other party's aura was actually in an indistinct state. He was sure that this wasn't an illusion. Of course, on the other hand, he didn't understand what was going on. The black paper's voice actually produced a trace of gentleness. I have completed the task you asked of me. We are even now. Okay. The Demon King was still walking forward. But I still have something to discuss with you. The black paper said, What is it? At this time, the Demon King was less than 5 meters away from the black paper. He almost instantly turned back into a stream of air and disappeared into the black paper's body. Whoosh! A shocking wave immediately spread in all directions. This wave of energy was so terrifying that even Ding Meng crossed his arms to protect his face. However, he was forced to slide backward. As for the Divine Arrow spaceship and the Peach Blossom spaceship, which were thousands of meters away, they were thrown into the air. Whoosh! The black paper's body seemed to contain an endless amount of energy. It spread wildly in all directions. The earth began to tremble, and the mountains in the distance began to collapse again. Even the thunderstorm in the sky was shocked by this force. A hole appeared in the sky, and the stars in space could be seen with the naked eye. This kind of power was simply earth-shattering, and the wind and clouds changed color. The energy storm lasted for a minute before it stopped. When the flying rocks scattered, the metal surface near the tunnel had been scraped 4 to 5 meters deep. The energy wave was simply too strong. However, at this time, the strange black paper disappeared. The person standing at the entrance of the tunnel was actually the Demon King, who looked like Wen Yang. The Demon King spread out his hands, as if he was looking at his limbs. Then, he suddenly raised his head and burst out laughing. Ha 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 ha, after waiting for so many years, I have finally merged. Ha ha ha, this day has finally come. From now on, I am the master of this world. Looking at his crazy roar of laughter, a shadow fell over everyone's heart. Exhilarating fiddled with the control panel a few times. Then, he revealed a face as pale as a corpse. He was rarely intimidated. However, looking at his expression, Ji Chenxue could not help but ask, "What's the situation?" Exhilarating took a deep breath and then said word by word, "The system's evaluation shows that his energy index has broken through 1,000 trillion points, and it's still rising." No one spoke, and no one breathed. This value was beyond Ji Chenxue and the others' understanding. This value not only meant that the Demon King was a galactic general, but it also meant that none of them had the right to resist. After laughing for a long time, the Demon King glared. "Ding Meng, you must not have guessed it, right?" Ding Meng was surprisingly calm. He raised his head and looked at the Demon King. "You're wrong. I already guessed it." The Demon King was stunned. "You still guessed it this time. I can consider giving you a quick death," Ding Meng said calmly. "This is not a rendezvous point for demons, nor is it an underground palace. It's the remains of a skeletal demon dragon. It should be the most powerful beast in the universe." The Demon King smiled. "That's right," Ding Meng said. "This kind of ancient beast will not truly die. When Henning and the others stayed here, they left behind enough demonic energy. Once the singularity is activated, the energy released will be enough to restore its immortal aperture. You pretended to be Henning and entered its immortal aperture when it was unprepared. You successfully fused with it." The Demon King was surprised again. "Tsk, you're too smart," Ding Meng said. "You've been planning for so long. You've been waiting for this moment, right?" The Demon King smiled. "Once I have the skeletal demon dragon's immortal aperture, I will have no opponents. I will be truly invincible." Ding Meng nodded. "That's true on the surface. Right now, no one here has the right to be your opponent. They're not even worthy of being cannon fodder." The Demon King smiled even more happily. "I take back what I just said. If you're willing to submit to me and serve me loyally, I can consider sparing your life and the lives of your companions." Ding Meng did not care about this topic. He had a strange expression on his face. "But have you ever thought about how many centuries this ancient beast has lived? Do you think you can just fuse with it?" "Ha ha ha!" The Demon King raised his head and laughed. "Are you afraid? Are you using this kind of fantasy to beg me for mercy? I know that you low-level life forms have a lot of pride. You're afraid of embarrassing yourselves." His voice was suddenly cut off. This was because the voice of a piece of black paper came from Wen Yang's stomach. "You're not General Henning." The Demon King jumped up as if he had been shot by an arrow. What's going on?" The voice of the piece of black paper became serious. "Get out." With a boom, the air suddenly exploded. Although this wave was not as strong as before, it still sent sand and stones flying. After a while, the strange piece of black paper was still floating at the entrance of the tunnel. However, the Demon King's image of Wen Yang had been pushed out at some point. He stood 5 or 6 meters away and looked at the other party in fear. He retreated step by step. The piece of black paper suddenly sneered. "How can a lowly person like you fuse with my immortal aperture? You're dreaming." With a plop sound, the Demon King actually took the initiative to kneel on both knees. Everyone could see his fear. Not only was his entire body trembling, but even his lips were trembling. "Lord, I was wrong. Please spare my life," the piece of black paper said arrogantly. "A mere variant of the Star-Field Border sect dares to call yourself the king of the true demon clan? Do you know your crime?" The Demon King immediately kowtowed, banging his head on the ground. His voice sounded like he was crying. "I know my mistake, I know my mistake. I was ignorant and offended you, sir. Please be magnanimous and spare my lowly life." Chapter 1068. This scene was enough to stun everyone present. Even an expert as strong as the true Demon Kingdom's Demon King had to kneel and beg for mercy. Just as everyone was still in shock, Ding Meng suddenly shouted, "Be careful!" It turned out that while the Demon King was kowtowing, a golden light suddenly shot out from his back. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be an exquisite bell. It was obvious that it was a Dharma treasure that was specially reserved to deal with Mo Long's immortal aperture. Whoosh, a shadow flashed past. Ding Meng's hand chopped out like lightning, and the bell turned into a dot of light and disappeared into the night sky. The Demon King turned around in shock. He had never expected that Ding Meng would actually stop him. You! The Demon King's eyes were about to split open. He stood up and swung his hand towards Ding Meng. Ding Meng had used too much force and could not stop in time. His forehead was suddenly hit by this heavy blow. His entire body slid back on the spot. Blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he had suffered a serious injury. Mo Long was still floating in the air coldly. It's fine. He gently reached out his hand that was formed from demonic mist. Ding Meng could not believe his eyes. The golden bell was actually in Mo Long's hand. As for how Mo Long did it, no one present saw it clearly. Mo Long handed the bell to the Demon King. You can try again. Even the Demon King was shocked. You. What are you trying to do? Mo Long calmly explained, I'm returning it to you. You can try using this. The Demon King could not believe his ears. He snatched the bell and gritted his teeth. You asked for this yourself. Mo Long said, come. With a loud boom, the bell instantly became as big as a tree. Its entire body emitted a piercing golden light. Even Ding Meng could not withstand this light. He could only raise his hand to cover his eyes. The bell wrapped around the demonic dragon's body and sucked him inside. Then, the Demon King turned into a mist and entered the demonic dragon's body. This time, there was no energy fluctuation. It was likely that the magic treasure had concealed the fluctuation. A moment later, the bell exploded into pieces with a boom. The image of the Demon King, Wen Yang, appeared again. This time, his body emitted a golden and black luster, just like a mannequin. However, the aura on his body was unprecedentedly strong. Xianjie's eyes widened. It's even fiercer than before. He's already at the level of a mid-level general. Ha ha ha! The Demon King laughed wantonly again. He examined his own body and nodded with satisfaction. Finally, I finally succeeded. This stupid beast actually dared to take the initiative to give me a chance. Ha 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 ha! Ding Meng also stared at the Demon King's brand new body in shock. He also retreated in shock. Are you done laughing? The demon dragon's voice suddenly came from the Demon King's abdomen. This voice was enough to make anyone suffocate. The Demon King's mouth opened wide, but he couldn't laugh anymore. Suddenly, a black energy floated out of the Demon King's head like magic. It gathered in the air and in the blink of an eye, it formed a black human-shaped piece of paper. This was simply a divine skill. The two colors on the Demon King's body quickly disappeared. He was still in his spiritual body state and hadn't changed at all. The Demon King turned around in shock. You. Not only did you recover your immortal aperture, you also recovered your source spirit? The demon dragon calmly replied, wrong. Even if I didn't recover my source spirit, my immortal aperture is still not something you can touch. You think that you can fuse with me just because you got a demon collecting bell from the Thousand Demon Clan? You mutant, you have evil intentions, you're cunning and shameless. Moreover, you won't repent even in death. Leaving you alive is just a disaster. Die. The Demon King didn't reply because he had already turned into a wisp of air. He flew into the clouds like lightning. Because other than running away, he didn't know what else to do. Moreover, his escape was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the thunderclouds in the sky. Boom! The demon dragon casually waved his hand. This time, Ding Meng could finally see it clearly. A black crack appeared in the clouds. To be more accurate, it was a miniature space-time tunnel. The Demon King had clearly escaped, but in the next second, he appeared in front of the demon dragon. This was a classic short-distance teleportation. No matter how fast you ran, you would be teleported back once you hit the crack. Ding Meng sighed in admiration. He really needed to practice this skill. The Demon King still wanted to explain, but his neck seemed to be strangled by an invisible hand. Then, a terrifying scene happened. The Demon King seemed to have turned into a virtual mirror image created by the main control panel of the human starship. He was constantly struggling, and his image was constantly changing. The handsome and tall head of state Wenyang, the mighty and domineering Xian Yuan Queen, the mysterious and cold Dark Knight Enchantress, Long Lin, Guan Lin, Jun Tian, Lei Dun, Zhong Yu. Everyone he came into contact with was constantly changing and struggling desperately. In the end, he turned into a giant snake with countless limbs, like a strengthened version of a centipede. However, this centipede slowly disappeared and dimmed. Sure enough, he was completely dead. His spiritual body had completely disappeared. He didn't even have time to cry for help. The whole world was silent. It was dead silent. Only the sound of thunder in the sky reminded everyone that this was not an illusion or a dream. This was something that really happened. The demon dragon suddenly looked up. "Hello, human." It would be strange if Ding Meng wasn't nervous. However, he could only bite the bullet and reply, "Hello." The demon dragon's tone suddenly became much gentler. "Don't be nervous. I mean you no harm. I can sense the aura of many of my friends on you." Ding Meng was surprised. "Oh? Your friends?" The demon dragon said, "You have the aura of the Mao Xing royal family, the Lingtian king, the Green Tree clan, and even the aura of my race. Don't worry, I'm not your enemy." Ding Meng was shocked. "These are all your friends?" The demon dragon nodded. "When the Lingtian king was young, I asked him for a magical fruit. He generously gave it to me. The Mao Xing king also gave me a true elemental rainbow crystal. As for the Green Tree clan, I have sensed them for a long time." There was too much information for Ding Meng to digest. "Why do I still have the aura of your race?" The demon dragon said, "You once fought with a Kelvin spore life form, right? That cell eventually evolved into a small bird. That was the life form of my race." Ding Meng suddenly remembered. "You mean the light bird in the divine war star ring?" The demon dragon's voice seemed to have a hint of a smile. "Is that what you call it? That's interesting." Although he was smiling, Ding Meng didn't dare to let down his guard. "You're sleeping in this underground palace?" The demon dragon seemed to know what he was thinking and took the initiative to explain. "Don't worry. 20,000 years ago, I promised the Demon King of the Demonic Sky Empire to send General Henning to the Saint Glory Galaxy. After the mission was completed, I've been resting here." Ding Meng asked tentatively, "Are you a demon?" The demon dragon said, "Strictly speaking, I'm not." Ding Meng curiously asked, "But why do you have so many auras on your body?" The demon dragon said, "I've existed since the birth of the universe. I've traveled to your so-called divine kingdom and Aegean Nightbird, so I naturally have these auras on me. In the recent tens of thousands of years, I've just dealt with the demonic Sky Clan, so I have the aura of demons." Ding Meng was speechless. The demon dragon had existed since the birth of the universe. In other words, he had lived for more than 10 billion years. He could be considered the origin of this universe. Even if Ding Meng called him an ancestor, he probably wasn't qualified. "How should I address you?" Ding Meng asked. The demon dragon said, "In the language of your human world, you can call me the Dragon King." Dragon King? Ding Meng thought about it. This name wasn't bad. He was indeed qualified to be called Dragon King. "Alright, Dragon King." Ding Meng spread out his hands and said, "Why did you send Henning here?" The Dragon King said, "It's very simple. The demonic Sky Empire's Demon King once helped me. This time, I sent him here to return the favor. At the same time, I can also play around in this area." Ding Meng said, "But why are you in the state of an immortal aperture?" The Dragon King said, I like to travel around the universe, but my body easily scares other children. Furthermore, every place I go to, I consume a lot of energy. This star field is scarce in energy, so I can only rest here and let my immortal aperture go out to play. Just now, when you guys touched the demon's singularity, I immediately rushed back. I thought General Henning had returned, but I didn't expect a mutated demon to come. Ding Meng sighed. I just killed Henning. However, the Dragon King didn't care at all. So what if you killed him? This demons isn't anything good. They like to destroy everywhere. The thing I hate the most is destroying the environment. Ding Meng's heart skipped a beat. No wonder the Dragon King said that he was friends with the Heavenly Sovereign King, the Mao Xing royal family, and the Green Tree race. It was probably related to this reason. It was because the living environment of these races was purely natural. The Dragon King looked at the floating peach blossom starship in the distance. Mingyan's people are here too? Looks like they're here for the solitary entropy. She might not be at ease until she sees the Heavenly Sovereign King dead. Ding Meng was shocked again. You know that the Sovereign King is dead? The Dragon King said, When I saw the butterfly mark on your forehead, I knew that Ling Tian was dead. That kid is not bad, and his achievements are quite high. You're not bad either. You're younger than Ling Tian, and your talent is much higher. Your future is promising. If you become a strong person in the future, I'll ask you for something. Ding Meng was numb from the shock. In the Dragon King's mouth, the strong kings like the Heavenly Sovereign King and Queen Mingyan were like children playing house. Ding Meng said, Oh right, do you know about the Divine Temple? The Night Luan Kingdom and the demons are now looking for the Divine Temple. The Dragon King sighed slightly. After so many years, I didn't expect these people to still believe in this fallacy. Ding Meng was stunned. Fallacy? The Dragon King said, What divine temple in the legends? That's a lie. If it really existed, how could I not have seen it? Ding Meng hesitated. But the Heavenly Sovereign King and Queen Mingyan have been looking for it. This fallacy isn't fake, right? Chapter 1069. The Dragon King pondered and said, Based on what you said, the legend of the sanctum might be true. However, in my opinion, the sanctum you speak of might not be the real sanctum. Ding Meng asked curiously, Then what should it be? The Dragon King said, It should be the origin of this universe. Ding Meng frowned and said, Is it the end of this universe? Or the singularity of the Big Bang? The Dragon King corrected him, Your understanding is not quite right. Since you are the successor chosen by Ling Tian, you should have been to the solitary entropy. The solitary entropy is considered one of the more advanced items in this universe. Why is it called that? It has to follow the law of entropy. In other words, the total amount of energy in this universe is constant. You and I rely on the energy in this universe to grow. If you want to find the so-called origin, then your energy should be greater than the total amount of energy in this universe. Only then can you find it. Ding Meng smiled bitterly. This was a complete paradox. To be so powerful that it exceeded all the energy in this universe, that was the true creator, the God of creation. It was not something a living being could do. The Dragon King continued, Ling Tian used a large amount of resources to create silent entropy to search for the so-called Holy Palace. I can roughly guess his train of thought. He thinks that he's invincible, but he's not truly invincible. Ding Meng was shocked. He has an even stronger enemy? The Dragon King smiled. We will all face the same enemy, time. Ding Meng suddenly understood. Time was indeed the enemy of all living beings. Birth, old age, sickness, and death, the cycle of nature. No matter how powerful a person was, they were so insignificant in the face of time. They would die sooner or later. Ling Tian was such a powerful person. Although he was not tortured to death by time, he still died. From this, it could be seen that nothing was eternal. The Dragon King continued to explain, Ling Tian created the silent entropy perhaps to search for the origin of this universe, break through its limits, and achieve eternal life. This is what you call the holy sanctum. It doesn't have the power to change the world, but if it really is the singularity at the beginning of the universe, it must play a role in maintaining the balance. Ding Meng frowned again. He did not understand this again. The Dragon King smiled and said, let's take your human life as an example. For example, if you are injured and feel pain, your brain will secrete endorphins to relieve the pain. Also, if one of your organs shows signs of failure, your heart will transfuse blood to that area. This is the so-called balance. The universe is the same. Ding Meng nodded. So, the human's sanctum is the human's sanctum in the brain or the heart, and the universe's sanctum is where the balance is. The Dragon King stopped smiling and said seriously, when the 6 territories were in chaos, Ling Tian and Ming Yan's battle at Mount Tianhuang shattered countless galaxies. This balance has long been disrupted. Or perhaps Ling Tian and Ming Yan already knew about this principle and deliberately destroyed so many superstar systems. This so-called sanctum would then appear. Ling Tian also had a motive for directing the solitary entropy to escape to the Saint Brilliance star system. Not only was it to avoid Ming Yan's pursuit, but it could also be to find the sanctum in this region. People like him always do things with meticulous planning. Think about it, he was so severely injured, yet he still escaped to a star system with scarce resources. This is completely illogical. Ding Meng sighed in admiration. Thank you for your guidance, Senior. He thought for a while and asked, Senior, you said that you existed at the beginning of the universe. Have you seen what the legendary sanctum looks like? The Dragon King said, I have not seen it, and I do not want to see it. Ding Meng did not understand. Why? The Dragon King sighed. Let me ask you, in your life, when was the happiest time? Ding Meng immediately recalled the days when he and Zheng Ming chopped firewood and hunted. Although those days were tough and poor, they were hard-working and motivated. They were full of hope and longing for the future. Those days had no worries and were truly happy. The Dragon King asked again, Then, when was your most painful day? Ding Meng thought of those lively faces again. The little girl, the citizen protector, Uncle Niu, Yu Xingyang, Xiao Si. Unfortunately, these people were gone forever. Behind those heart-wrenching heroic stories, all that was left were dejected sighs and helpless heartache. The Dragon King said, If you were given another chance, what would you do? Would you stand at the top and become a solitary expert, or would you walk at the bottom and fight with your friends? Ding Meng felt as if he had been enlightened. Senior, your words have really enlightened me. The Dragon King laughed again, and his laughter was somewhat sorrowful. You see, I have lived for so long, but it is actually very boring. Sometimes I especially envy you guys, so I can only play around in the Milky Way out of boredom, relying on the scenery and scenery. Compared to me, aren't you guys very happy? As for the so-called divine temple, it is just a misty dream flower and a castle in the sky. Why not do something that makes you happy and leave behind some beautiful things in life? Ding Meng did not say anything else. He bowed slightly and saluted the Dragon King. The Dragon King laughed again. Since you helped me before, I can make an exception and help you this time. Where do you want to go? I can send you there now. Ding Meng thought for a while and said, Senior, can you send me back to the Holy Grail Federation? The Dragon King looked at him with admiration. I knew that someone like you would not choose to go to the 6 great dominions. Ding Meng was curious again. Why? The Dragon King did not answer. The Dragon King did not answer the reason, but corrected himself. You'd better be careful. Just because you don't go to the 6 great dominions doesn't mean that the people of the 6 great dominions won't come looking for you. But now that this mutant has been destroyed and the people of AIG have long gone extinct, there are only 4 of the 6 great dominions left. Your world of sacred splendor is in imminent danger. It's good that you go back. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand violently. Ding Meng's vision blurred, and he found himself back on the divine Arrow spaceship. Exhilarating and the others were all unconscious near the main control panel. The radar showed that the spaceship had re-entered the confusing space-time tunnel and was moving forward rapidly. Various colors of chaos flashed in the surroundings. It seemed that the spaceship was undergoing a hyperspace transmission. Not long after, Exhilarating and the others woke up one after another. The first to speak was Chu Shaoqing. Ding Meng, long time no see. I missed you so much. Ah, brother Exhilarating, you are here too. Xing Yi also woke up. Where is this? Aren't we on a mission to the Empire? Ji Chenxue also stood up from the sofa. She also looked at the radar screen in surprise. Aren't we going to the peripheral planets? Why did we enter the space-time tunnel? Exhilarating was operating on the main control panel. What's the situation? Our coordinates are unknown, and the energy is not depleted? How strange. Looking at the group of people discussing, Ding Meng asked tentatively, Have you forgotten? Ji Chenxue asked curiously, Forgotten what? Ding Meng said, Don't you remember what happened just now? Ji Chenxue wondered. Didn't we just say goodbye to Brother Hauran in the Dexing Kingdom? This time, it was Ding Meng's turn to be stunned. He suddenly realized that Ji Chenxue and the rest had all lost their memories. To be precise, the Dragon King had used some unknown means to erase their memories of the Cancer Fringe planet and sent everyone into the space-time tunnel. He guessed that Mo Land's Night Phoenix starship was in the same situation. He was the only one whose memories were not erased. This Dragon King was really powerful. Ding Meng did not ask any more questions because they had reached the end of the space-time tunnel. The radar screen changed, and the spaceship seemed to have arrived at another planet. This place had blue skies and white clouds. Birds were singing and flowers were fragrant. It was surrounded by exquisite and beautiful villas. Exhilarating's eyes were sharp. He immediately saw that there was a mountain under the spaceship. The mountain was facing the sea. Outside the villas, there were two small divine Arrow spaceships that had been split up. From the looks of it, they seemed to have been repaired. They were shining brightly. This is the Flying Star City. Exhilarating quickly came to a conclusion. Ding Meng immediately understood. The Dragon King must have entered his divine sense. If he wanted to come back, he would definitely not choose the Empire or enter the Federation directly. Instead, he would choose a transit station. The most suitable place for this transit station was the Flying Star City. The spaceship quickly landed on the lawn. At this moment, people also came down from the other two spaceships. Ding Meng heaved a sigh of relief when he saw these people. Little Rascal, Xiao Ai, Elephant, Meng Yen, Ling Xingqi, and the others were all safe and sound. Elephant was the first to rush up with an excited expression. Brother Ding, it's really you guys. I knew that you guys would definitely survive. Little Rascal also came up to him. Ding Meng, you're finally back. Fortunately, Exhilarating is with you. Ding Meng said, Have you been waiting for me here? Xiao Ai nodded faintly. We were guessing that if you wanted to come back, the first place you would come to would be the Flying Star City. Ding Meng said, Why didn't you wait for me at the base in the Pandora Galaxy? Little Rascal said, Don't mention it. The Federal Empire is in a tense situation right now. The Empire's patrol fleet is about to arrive at Galaxy K, and Galaxy V4 is not safe either. We were waiting for you to come back. Come, let's talk inside. A group of people surrounded Ding Meng and walked into the villa. Only Ling Xingqi kept staring at Ji Chenxue. Ji Chenxue felt uncomfortable under her stare. He could not help but ask, What's wrong? We haven't seen each other for a few years. Do you miss me too? Ling Xingqi still had that cold look on her face. She asked coldly, What have you been through? Why can't I analyze your aura now? Ji Chenxue was a little proud. Are you jealous? She had been baptized by the true essence rainbow crystal and inherited Ah Wan's divine light necklace. She was now an interstellar martial supreme, while Ling Xingqi was just an interstellar martial artist. There was naturally a huge gap between the two of them. It was normal that she could not recognize her aura. Unexpectedly, Ling Xingqi said coldly, "I'm not jealous at all. You have Ding Meng's strong masculine aura in your body. Looks like you guys have done your thing in the past few years. Tell me, how many wives are you planning to have?" Ji Qinshue's face instantly turned red. "You don't even have a boyfriend. How do you know?" This time, it was Ling Xingqi's turn to be proud. "I learned the superb skill of chasing people through smell from my little sister. I can smell it with just one sniff. You guys must have done your thing in the past 5 or 6 days." Ji Qinshui could only roll his eyes. "Haha, chasing people through smell? You make it sound so high and mighty. A dog's nose is a dog's nose." Of all the things you learned, you actually learned this. Ling Xingqi. Chapter 1070. In the villa hall, Meng Yan served everyone some calming tea. Following Little Rascal's explanation, Ding Meng finally understood what had happened in the past 5 years. After escaping from the space-time tunnel, Little Rascal and Little Love were fortunately teleported to the God War Star Ring. Only Ding Meng and Xinjie were sent hundreds of thousands of light-years away. Of course, many experts died in that battle, and Wen Yang was the prime example. The Norse Empire's new ruler was called Mingzhu. He was an outstanding young man who had been promoted from the parliament. Strangely, he did not have the support of organizations like Apocalypse and Chuangyu. Little Rascal and the others could not understand this. However, Ding Meng knew that Mingzhu was probably already controlled by the Night Luan, so he did not need the support of any large organizations. On the Holy Grail Federation side, a new president was officially elected. The new president was called Jiang Qianchen, and he was one of the most famous martial artists in the Holy Grail Federation. It was said that he had been in seclusion for many years. It was only after people like Bai Xingfei and Zheng Fongying died that Jiang Qianchen came out to compete for the presidency. His goal was to protect the Federation's safety. This Jiang Qianchen actually received the support of large families like Labic and Rainbow family. Even Xinghao Xinghong was fully supporting him. Ding Meng said, "What about our Bingi Corporation?" Everyone's expression turned ugly. Ding Meng frowned and said, "Is there a problem?" Little Rascal said, "There is no problem. Everyone is still living well, especially the captain and the others." Ding Meng looked at Ling Xingqi and said, "What about the transit string?" Ling Xingqi crossed her arms and said coldly, "She is her, and I am me. If you want to find her, why are you asking me?" Ding Meng also knew that Ling Xingqi had such a cold personality, so he could only turn to Meng Yan and ask, "What's the situation?" Meng Yan could only brace herself and explain, "Little Bing and Miss Ling have had some conflicts over the past few years. Their cooperation is not as close as before." Ding Meng was even more confused. Conflicts? What conflict could they possibly have? Ling Xingqi didn't want to explain, but now she had to. Ding Meng, in the past 5 years, the Starbao Group's curved mirror technology has been developed, and it has matured. This technology is called curved light, and it's a very advanced long-distance space transmission technology. Not only does the Starbao Group attach great importance to it, but Xing Hao is also very interested in it. This technology has also attracted the attention of the Federation's upper echelons, and under the leadership of President Jiang Qianchen, both sides have reached an agreement to cooperate. Ding Meng did not answer. He was still digesting the information. Was it because of this technology that Xing Hao and Xing Hong were willing to cooperate? Or was this new president important enough? Meng Yan continued, "The name of this cooperation project is Chu Guang 1. It has even attracted the interest of the Empire's Apocalypse Group. During the negotiations between the two countries, the Empire's Apocalypse Chuang Yu and other large corporations have participated. The Federation also has more financial groups and sects supporting and participating. However, Lil Bing and Iran are against it. Ding Meng was a little surprised. Lan Bing and Liang Iran had always been more open-minded. This kind of cooperation between two countries was definitely a big project. Logically speaking, the Bingy group would not ignore it. Lan Bing must have her reasons for opposing it. Meng Yen continued to explain, "We have been away for 5 years. Because you were not around, the development of the Bingy group could not be compared to the Starbao group, and it suffered some restrictions." She spoke very tactfully, but how could Ding Meng not understand the logic behind it? The ways of the world had always been like this. Once you were not around, many times people would not give face to the Bingy group. Just like when he piloted the S expedition into the wormhole, many people thought that he was dead. Everything related to him was ignored by others, and some people even had their eyes on Dai. This was human nature. The current Ding Meng did not care too much about these things. With his current strength, he could do whatever he wanted in the major countries. Why would he care about these small things? The thing he was thinking about now was still solitary entropy, but he knew that he could not immediately establish contact with Sokka's. Once the wristband on his wrist connected to solitary entropy, it would definitely be detected by the Night Luan martial artist. He had to find a suitable time to establish a connection with Sokka's. "You guys haven't gone back for the past few years?" Ding Meng asked. Little Rascal said, "We just flew back a year ago. We were mainly repairing the spaceship after it split apart. The energy was all taken from the Green Arrow, Surprise Attack, and Dragon-slaying families." Ding Meng understood. Little Rascal had obviously considered the fact that the Night Luan martial artists had already invaded. If they rashly established a connection with the Bingy group, the Divine Arrow spaceship would probably be discovered. Little Rascal said again, "Oh right, Ding Meng, this Chu Guang 1 project will be carried out on Cypress Grove." Only now did Ding Meng say in surprise, "That's interesting. A project between a large financial group and the upper echelons, and they've actually chosen a pirate territory as the location." Seeing his expression, everyone could sense that something was off. Xing sighed and said, "It looks like you'll have to come back personally to resolve a lot of things." Ling Xingqi spoke up again, "Ding Meng, you know my background. In any case, I'm on your side." Ding Meng glanced at her again. "Do you think I don't know whose side you're on? It's rare for Xing to come back safely, so you'd better keep him safe." Ling Xingqi was a little annoyed. "What do you mean?" Ding Meng shrugged with a smile. "Nothing." In fact, he had long noticed that Ling Xingqi was still a little interested in Xing. Disregarding everything else, from the moment Xing got off the ship until now, Ling Xingqi had always been by his side. On the surface, it looked like she still maintained a certain distance, but in reality, she never left his side. However, Ling Xingqi's attitude also had a hidden meaning, and that was, if the Starbao Corporation was up to something again, she wouldn't sit idly by. "Forget it, I'll make a trip back to Blue Pole Star City first." Ding Meng made his decision. He still didn't know the specifics of the situation, but he didn't plan to alarm everyone. It wasn't necessarily a good thing to spread the news of his return now. On the top of a mountain facing the sea to the east of Blue Pole Star City, the Lang family's mansion stood quietly in the beautiful night sky. A luxurious flying car slowly descended from the night sky onto the tarmac. Liang Yiran, dressed in professional attire, pushed open the car door and walked towards the gate of the courtyard. Although she was dressed in a professional outfit, she still couldn't hide the fatigue and worry between her brows. The attendant didn't dare to ask too much and only greeted politely, "Madam, you're back." Liang Yiran nodded. "Is the old man here?" The attendant said, "Yes, the old man is in the living room. Brother Xing and Uncle Hui are accompanying him." Liang Yiran didn't ask any more questions and directly walked into the depths of the villa. In the center of the main hall on the first floor of the Lang family's residence, Du Peixing and Fu Zhonghui were sitting on the sofa, while Langton was sitting on a recliner with an impatient look on his face. In any case, the three of them didn't have good expressions. It wasn't until Liang Yiran stepped through the door that a smile appeared on Langton's face. "Yiran, you're back. Come and sit." Liang Yiran was a straightforward person. After sitting down, she didn't beat around the bush and directly asked, "Old man, have you asked?" Langton sighed. "I've asked. My old classmate gave me a reply today. He said that this is a joint project of the Federal Empire and that it must be carried out. Moreover, the current president is very tough and there's almost no room for negotiation." Liang Yiran sighed. "Sigh, I also knew that this would be the result. But now the group is indeed in a difficult situation. If we really sell the Beta Star route, I'm afraid we'll be letting down Ding Meng and Ji Chenxue." Du Peixing comforted her. "Don't worry, Yiran. There will always be a way. Du Peixing is also helping you think of a way." Liang Yiran was a little discouraged. Du Mo is from the military. What can he do? Du Peixing said, "It's okay. There are still so many people in the Bingyi group. No matter how strong the higher-ups are now, they still have to consider a large group of experts like you, right?" Fu Zhonghui pondered and said, "Peixing, you can't say that. This Jiang Qianchen isn't simple." Du Peixing asked curiously, "Uncle Hui, could it be that you know the background of this president?" Fu Zhonghui revealed a bitter smile. "I don't know his background, but I've heard my master talk about him before. This Jiang family is actually a very old clan in our federation. Their qualifications aren't comparable to the Rabbik family, but their reputation far surpasses the Rainbow family. It's normal that you don't know about them. Because the Jiang family didn't participate in the devouring World War 100 years ago, very few people know about them. However, all of the Jiang family's descendants are extremely talented. Jiang Qianchen can be considered a third-generation descendant." Du Peixing immediately fell silent. No matter how poor a person's talent was, after cultivating for 400 years, their strength wouldn't be too bad. No wonder they could become the president. No matter how powerful the Jiang family is, they can't openly go against the Bingyi group, right? Du Peixing frowned. No matter what, the big boss behind the scenes of the Bingyi group is Ding Meng. In any case, Ding Meng is a hero of the Federation. At the same time, he's also the king of the Storm Gathering. No matter how much he promotes the Chu Guang No. 1 project, he can't possibly sacrifice the Bingyi group's benefits just to fill a vacancy in the upper echelons of the Federation, right? Liang Yiran appeared to be very anxious. She sighed and said, "Sigh, if only Ding Meng was here. I'd like to see who has the guts to cause trouble for our Bingyi group." Du Peixing sighed. Thinking about it, Ding Meng has been gone for another 5 to 6 years. Liang Yiran nodded and said, "After the storm gathering 2 years ago, there was no news of him. Even Princess Lan Bing doesn't know where he went." Fu Zhonghui comforted her. "Don't worry. I've always thought highly of Ding Meng. Heaven helps the worthy. He'll return sooner or later. Didn't he leave for 7 to 8 years before? Didn't he still come back? It'll definitely be the same this time." Before he could finish speaking, a voice rang out from the main door. "Uncle Hui, you're right. Heaven helps the worthy." Fu Zhonghui and Du Peixing were shocked. Since there was no servant to inform them and they couldn't sense any aura, someone had actually snuck into the Lang family's mansion without a sound. Turning around, Liang Yiran's eyes lit up. "Wow, I've been looking forward to the stars and the moon." "Ding Meng, you're finally back." Ding Meng smiled as he entered the house. "I heard you guys talking about me from the sky. You came at the right time. Old Master, Uncle Hui, Brother Xing, long time no see. Chapter 1071. Seeing Ding Meng's arrival, everyone was surprised and happy. After some greetings, Du Peixing and Fu Zhonghui looked at Ding Meng with awe. In their eyes, Ding Meng didn't have any aura at all. Those who didn't know would think that Ding Meng was just an ordinary person, but they knew very well that Ding Meng's strength must have reached an extremely amazing level, a height that they couldn't imagine. Fu Zhonghui asked cautiously, Ding Meng, you were already a warlord during the storm gathering. I'm afraid you're much stronger now, right? Ding Meng smiled modestly. Uncle Hui, I'm still a junior in front of you. Fu Zhonghui said with interest, why don't you show us something? Du Peixing also echoed, yeah, Xiaoma has always looked up to you as a role model. He's usually cultivating in the induction cabin when he's free. Ding Meng thought for a moment and said with a smile, okay, then I'll show you my incompetence. After that, he waved his hand gently, and a soft purple ribbon suddenly appeared in his palm. Du Peixing and Fu Zhonghui looked at each other. What did this mean? Liang Yiran said in surprise, isn't this my scarf? I just put it in the car. How did you get it? Du Peixing and Fu Zhonghui's expressions changed immediately. Liang Yiran's flying car was parked on the tarmac outside, and Ding Meng reached out and took it. What kind of technique was this? Or was it a magic trick? Of course, it wasn't a magic trick. Ding Meng had learned this from the Dragon King. He could open a miniature space-time tunnel at any time to take things or even people from a distance. Du Peixing and Fu Zhonghui exchanged glances again, and then both of them smiled bitterly. Ding Meng's casual move was already beyond their understanding. Now, Ding Meng was no longer just a master. After chatting for a while, the topic finally fell on the curved light technology. Of course, Langton had the most say on this topic. He was a scientific research authority before he retired, so he spoke up at this moment. Actually, I don't agree with this curved light technology either. Why? Ding Meng asked. Langton explained, this warp light is actually an enhanced version of warp mirror. In the end, it's just using more resources to push the target further away. Now that the war in the Fertile Chalk system has calmed down, the Empire has retreated and turned to defend our Federation. I wonder where they're going with such a large teleportation matrix? Ding Meng said thoughtfully, what you mean is that this project actually requires everyone to contribute money and resources, right? Liang Yiran immediately raised her hand. That's right, we're investing large amounts of energy, alloys, crystals, chemicals, and other resources. Xing Hao and Xing Hong are very supportive, and now the Federation's higher-ups hope that the Bingi Group can also support us. Ding Meng wondered, it's not that we can't support them, but there has to be something in return, right? Liang Yiran suddenly lowered her head. But now the Federation's higher-ups hope that we can sell them the transportation route from Blue Pole Star City to Beidou. The Bingi Group's income mainly depended on two routes. One was the route from Blue Pole Star City to Planet Luji, Planet Thousand Sails, Xiridal, and finally to the Devourer world. This was thanks to Ding Meng's friendship with the immortal Yuan Queen and the others, so the resources from the Devourer world could be continuously sent to the Federation. This was especially true for the skeletons. After being processed by the Bingi Group, they entered the market and were very popular among the soldiers. No one dared to touch this route, including the higher-ups and the military. This was because you could ignore the Bingi Group's face, but you had to consider the feelings of the immortal Yuan Queen in the Devourer world. Even if someone dared to touch this route after eating a leopard, this route was full of mercenaries and pirates. As long as the Federation's third-party forces in outer space heard of Ding Meng's name, they would know that the Bingi Group was in existence that they could not afford to offend. The other route was from the outskirts of Blue Pole Star City and north to Beidou. This was the area where Long Feiyu and the other peddlers operated. Moreover, the Hubol's family on Beidou was completely subdued by Junling, and a large amount of crystal source or residue was provided by them. Strictly speaking, these two routes were not officially recognized by the government. However, they were the operating capital of the Bingi Group. Now that the Federation's higher-ups wanted to buy the second route, this was basically touching the Bingi Group's cheese. Liang Yiran's words were short, but they were very thought-provoking. Ding Meng nodded. No wonder Lil Bing is against the Tsuguang project. This is not a coincidence. However, even if it's for sale, the higher-ups have to offer a price, right? It's still in the preliminary stages. Lan Bing has been handling this matter recently. Liang Yiran's head was very low. She did not even dare to raise her head to look at Ding Meng. From the bottom of her heart, the Bingi Group belonged to Ding Meng. Liang Yiran and Lan Bing were just two high-level workers. However, Lan Bing was Ding Meng's woman, while Liang Yiran was not. Ding Meng had let her manage the company out of trust and out of his friendship with Du Mo. Now that things had turned out this way, Liang Yiran felt guilty. Ding Meng wondered, is the new president so strong? Where's the transit string? Liang Yiran said, we haven't been able to contact Miss Ling currently, no one is speaking up for us. Lan Bing is under a lot of pressure. Ding Meng nodded. Understood. Where's Lil Iceman? Liang Yiran said, she should be at the Galaxy Dynasty Hotel now. Someone from the higher-ups came to talk to her today. The one who came was Jiang Ningyi. Ding Meng stared at her. You're humming and hawing. Why don't you finish your sentence? Is someone causing trouble again? Liang Yiran still did not dare to raise her head. This Jiang Ningyi is Jiang Qianqin's grandson. Last year, we met once in the capital. Since then, he has been pursuing Lan Bing. She thought that Ding Meng would be angry, but who knew that Ding Meng would laugh? I'm surprised. So this is the reason. Liang Yiran finally raised her head and stared at Ding Meng. Aren't you jealous? Ding Meng wondered. Why should I be jealous? If he can really pursue her, then that's his ability. I'm not worried at all. Liang Yiran said, but now the other party is using this to stop us. Ding Meng was a little surprised. I can consider selling if the price is right. But let's put it bluntly. Even if the higher-ups can buy it, whether they can play it or not is their own business. Liang Yiran lowered her head again. But I don't think they have seriously considered the price. Ding Meng frowned and said, what do you mean? Can't afford it or don't want to? Liang Yiran did not dare to answer. Du Peixing saw that the situation was not right and quickly said, Ding Meng, Bingi Group is too weak to rely on Liang Yiran and CEO Lan. After all, they are two little girls. You have a wide network. If you go and say hello, the effect will be much better. Ding Meng thought for a while and said, that's true. Is Lil Bing in the Milky Way dynasty? Then let's go now. Liang Yiran said decisively, I'll go with you. Langton quickly said, Peixing, Zhonghui, why don't you two go with little Ding? If anything happens, we can take care of each other. Ding Meng immediately dissuaded him. No need, old man. Brother Xing and Uncle Hui should accompany you more. It's more appropriate for me to go to the company's business. After saying that, Ding Meng led Liang Yiran out of the living room. Liang Yiran directly walked towards the parking apron. I'll go get the car. No need. It's too troublesome and too slow. Ding Meng decisively waved his hand. Liang Yiran's eyes widened. Are we going to walk there? Ding Meng said, no need. I've been to the Milky Way Dynasty Hotel. It seems to be Xinghong's property. If I remember correctly, it's in the southern part of the city. We can go there if we want the coordinates. He exerted a little force with his eyes, and a small wormhole vortex appeared in the open space at the entrance. He then grabbed Liang Yiran's arm. Let's go. Seeing the two of them enter the vortex and the wormhole slowly disappeared, Du Peixing and Fu Zhonghui's mouths opened so wide that they could swallow a rubber ball. This was F*King amazing. He could open a wormhole for short-distance teleportation without any equipment. Ding Meng, this is… Du Peixing was speechless. He was completely shocked. Fu Zhonghui smiled bitterly. I knew a long time ago that this child would have extraordinary achievements in the future. Du Peixing also smiled bitterly. Do I need you to tell me that? Xiaoma's eyes have always been sharp. I knew that Ding Meng was amazing, but I didn't expect him to be so amazing that he could pass on his skills to others. The two of them were still lamenting when the next second, Ding Meng and Liang Yiran appeared at the entrance of the Galaxy Dynasty Hotel out of thin air. Relying on her identity as the general manager of the Bingy Group, she was able to enter without any obstructions. However, the top floor had already been cleared. There were 4 bodyguards in suits and sunglasses guarding the entrance. I'm sorry, please stop. The VIP hall on the top floor has been booked. No one can enter without young Master Zhang's invitation. The leader of the men in suits was quite polite. Liang Yiran immediately revealed her identity. I'm the general manager of the Bingy Group, Liang Yiran. I can go in, right? The man in suits said, I'm sorry, young Master Zhang has only invited the chairman of your group, CEO Lan. No one else can enter. Liang Yiran wanted to argue, but Ding Meng was too lazy to talk nonsense. He went straight to open the door. The 4 bodyguards suddenly became mute and deaf. Their bodies were stiff as they stood in place. They could neither speak nor move. They could only watch as Ding Meng broke through the door. What a joke! A few mere battle lords wanted to block Ding Meng's path? Ding Meng didn't even need to move. He just used his telekinesis and everyone could only stand there. When the door was pushed open, the inside was instantly filled with luxurious decorations and brilliant light. There were only 2 tables in the huge banquet hall. One of the tables was actually a very ambiguous 2-person booth for couples. Lan Bing and Jiang Ningyi sat opposite each other. There were steaks, red wine, and fresh flowers on the table. One look and one could tell that they weren't discussing anything. On the other side, there was a round table that was very far away. A few old men in strange clothes were eating in a very low-key manner. From time to time, their eyes would drift to Lan Bing's side. It was obvious that they were Jiang Ningyi's entourage, and their strength was not bad. 3 battle saints and 1 martial immortal. This Jiang family was indeed something. Even their entourage had such a foundation. It seemed that Jiang Qianqian himself was also very strong, otherwise he would not have been able to take over the position of the president. Chapter 1072. Although Lan Bing was sitting in the couple's booth, her face was always calm and distant. It was obvious that she was very disgusted by this kind of cooperation. On the other hand, Jiang Ningyi was immaculately dressed and had an elegant demeanor. Objectively speaking, this fellow was somewhat handsome. He was of the same type as Xian Jie, but in terms of handsomeness, they were far from each other. Jiang Ningyi was handsome in terms of appearance, while Xian Jie was extraordinary in terms of temperament. Jiang Ningyi's eyes were focused on Lan Bing. Lan Bing was dressed like a typical white-collar beauty today. Jiang Ningyi had seen many beauties like her, but he had never tasted someone as cold as her. The colder Lan Bing was, the more it aroused a man's desire to conquer her. Today's cooperation was fake, and the date was real. However, Lan Bing didn't even bother to pay attention to him. Instead, he was the one who kept on blabbering on and on. At this moment, seeing Ding Meng beside Liang Yiran, Lan Bing's eyes suddenly lit up. She stood up from her seat and walked quickly to Ding Meng. "You're finally back." Lan Bing was pleasantly surprised. Her makeup today was very delicate, making her bright red face even more attractive. Ding Meng could not help but reach out and pinch her chin. "You've worked hard, Lil Bing." Lan Bing's eyes were slightly red. "You really? Can't you come back earlier? I've been a little tired recently." Obviously, she had been under too much pressure recently. Ding Meng was a little apologetic. Sorry, I was delayed in outer space for a while, but it's okay. Aren't I back now? Jiang Ningyi had never seen such an aggrieved and coquettish side of a beauty. He was stunned at once, but when he found that Ding Meng was stroking Lan Bing's chin, he was immediately enraged. Who are you? Unfortunately, Ding Meng did not care about him at all. He turned his head and said, Iran, go get a flying car. We'll leave in a while. It was not good to directly activate the teleportation in the hotel. It was not good to make a shocking impact. At this moment, the four old men in the distance had stood up and stood in a row behind Jiang Ningyi, staring at Ding Meng covetously. The leader of the group was an old man dressed in a black robe that resembled an ancient zombie costume. He said in a deep voice, Who are you? How dare you barge into young Master Jiang's private banquet? Young Master Jiang is asking you a question. Ding Meng turned around and couldn't help but laugh. You guys don't even know who I am? Jiang Ningyi could not sense Ding Meng's aura either. However, seeing that Ding Meng was wearing a hoodie and casual pants, he estimated that his entire body was worth less than 50 star coins. Therefore, he did not take Ding Meng seriously. Boy, I don't care who you are. Today, this is my private party. Please leave. Ding Meng was also very straightforward. Okay, let's go out. After saying that, he wrapped his arm around Lan Bing's slender waist and turned to walk towards the door. Stop right there. Jiang Ningyi shouted. Ding Meng said with a smile, You want me to leave and now you want me to stay. What do you mean? Jiang Ningyi was very domineering. He waved his hand and said, You leave. CEO Lan stays. Why does CEO Lan stay? Ding Meng asked even though he knew the answer. Jiang Ningyi said, I am talking about a collaboration with CEO Lan. It has nothing to do with you. You can leave now. Ding Meng looked at the couple booth and said with a smile, You are talking about a collaboration? Are you talking about a collaboration or a date? Jiang Ningyi said impatiently, This has nothing to do with you. Then I am sorry. If you are talking about a collaboration, then it has something to do with me. Ding Meng stopped smiling. I am the investor of the Bingy Group. The CEO and CEO are all my subordinate. Jiang Ningyi suddenly looked surprised. He turned around and said, CEO Lan, is this person crazy? Lan Bing finally gave a charming smile. CEO Jiang, he is not talking nonsense. He is indeed the investor of the Bingy Group. He is our boss. Ding Meng said with a faint smile, If you are not talking about a collaboration but a date, then it has something to do with me. Lan Bing understood and immediately held Ding Meng's arm tightly. She explained with a smile, CEO Jiang, he is also my husband. I have explained to you a long time ago that I have a family. After hearing this explanation, the old man in the black robe came to his senses. He immediately went up to Jiang Ningyi and whispered a few words. Jiang Ningyi returned to his contemptuous attitude. So you are Ding Meng. Don't think that just because you are the champion of the storm gathering, you can prove anything. Ding Meng said with a smile, Of course it doesn't prove anything. I am too far away from the Jiang family. So I will leave. I will leave. Okay? Ha. After that, he hugged Lan Bing and was about to leave. Jiang Ningyi stopped him. Stop. Ding Meng sighed. Young Master Jiang, what do you want me to do? Jiang Ningyi was at a loss for words. It would be embarrassing if he used the excuse of a collaboration. It was supposed to be a great opportunity for him to pick up a girl. Why did it suddenly become like this? After all, he was the son of a big family. At the very least, he still wanted to save face. Jiang Ningyi could only bite the bullet and say, Of course, it is to talk about the acquisition of the Bingy Group's route. Ding Meng said seriously, Okay. If you want to talk about something, then you should act like you are talking about something. I think there is no need to talk about it at a couple's table, right? The old man in the black robe took the initiative to extend his hand. CEO Ding, CEO Lan, this way please. The table he pointed to was the big round table they had been sitting at. The dishes on the table were basically untouched. Only Ding Meng and Jiang Ningyi were seated. Lan Bing and Liang Yiran sensibly stood behind Ding Meng, supporting the big boss. This made Jiang Ningyi very angry. If Lan Bing did not sit down, he would not even have the chance to sit directly across from her. Ding Meng did not beat around the bush. CEO Jiang, since you want to talk about a collaboration, then I will be frank. I have to give face to the president. The Bingyi Group is also willing to support the Federation's project. However, if you want to buy the route in my hands, then you are undoubtedly buying the manpower and territory of this route. Name a price. If the price is right, then I will sell it. Jiang Ningyi was speechless. You are a big boss with a huge net worth. How can you be so direct? The old man in the black robe was very perceptive. He knew that his young master would not be able to answer immediately. Thus, he took the initiative to speak. CEO Ding, the Federation's higher-ups attach great importance to this Tsuguang No. 1 project. It is related to the national economy and the people's livelihood. If it is successfully implemented, it will be a huge boost to our Federation and the Empire's interstellar travel, energy development, and other fields. Ding Meng looked at him. Nonsense. You. The old man in the black robe was instantly annoyed. Ding Meng said indifferently, I asked you to name a price, and you said this to me. If this is not nonsense, then what is? Jiang Ningyi waved his hand, and the old man in the black robe immediately shut up. Jiang Ningyi carefully observed Ding Meng. To be honest, if not for the fact that he was the CEO of the Bingyi Group and the champion of the Fengyun Conference, he would not have put Ding Meng in his eyes. He had come to Blue Pole Star City this time with the intention of getting both the woman and the money. He wanted to first get Lan Bing into his bed, and then take over the Bingyi Group. In the past few years, the Bingyi Group had not developed enough, and could no longer compete with Xinghao Xinhong. The main reason was that Ding Meng had disappeared for 5 or 6 years. Such a huge ship could not be steered by Lan Bing alone. However, Ding Meng's sudden appearance had messed up the situation. Getting Lan Bing was a small matter, but how could he make the Bingyi Group give up the route? Jiang Ningyi stared at Ding Meng like a tiger eyeing its prey and slowly raised 2 fingers. 20 trillion star coins. Ding Meng also raised 2 fingers and tapped them on the table, but he did not answer. Jiang Ningyi's square eyebrows furrowed. What do you think, CEO Ding? Ding Meng smiled. My prize at the Fengyun Conference is 20 trillion. You want to buy half of the Bingyi Group's lifeline with this amount of money? Jiang Ningyi did not get angry and patiently explained, the curved light project can send our Federation's fleet into outer space. This is a good thing for the country and the people. If the Bingyi Group is willing to support it, then it will be a great achievement. It will definitely go down in history. Ding Meng smiled even more happily. If you want to talk about cooperation like this, then I don't think there's any need to talk about it. It's not easy for me to come back. Don't delay my and Little Bing's happy life. He purposely emphasized the word happy. Behind him, Liang Yiran could not help but laugh. Lan Bing also had a generous smile on her face. Ding Meng had learned this from Dai Yi. I'll just touch on the pot that doesn't boil. Jiang Ningyi's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. Then, CEO Ding, why don't you name a price? Ding Meng smiled. You want me to name a price? I'm afraid you can't afford it. 500 trillion, not a cent less. Otherwise, there's no need to talk. Jiang Ningyi's eyebrows were almost knitted into a line. CEO Ding, the Federation's financial burden is already very heavy. I hope you can consider the big picture. Ding Meng waved his hand indifferently. You speak as if the Federation's financial burden was caused by me. Was it caused by me? If it was caused by me, I can give you a discount. The faces of the old men immediately darkened. Ding Meng was really stubborn. Ding Meng also stared at the other party. I'm not bragging, but the higher-ups of the Federation simply can't come up with this amount of money. You know very well what you're planning to do in Blue Pole Star City. The black-robed old man spoke again. CEO Ding, since you have spoken like this, let's be frank. The senior management can't afford this money, but CEO Yu of Xinghao Group is willing to pay for it. Ha! Ding Meng was immediately amused. I know you people are full of demons. Since Xinghao Group is paying, then let Yu Tianlin come to talk to me in person. Why should I let you people who have nothing to do with me talk? Are you here to talk about love? Jiang Ningyi took a deep breath and forcibly suppressed the anger in his heart. CEO Ding, I didn't do anything out of line. Please pay attention to your words. Ding Meng also stopped smiling. I've been polite to you. Not only do you have designs on my Bingy group, but you also dare to have designs on my woman. Do you really think you have a lot of lives? As he spoke, he got up. Lil Bing, Iran, let's go. As soon as the three of them turned around, three old men immediately blocked their way like ghosts. Stop! The black-robed old man behind him shouted sternly. Do you think you can get out of here today? Ding Meng was so angry that he laughed. You want to block my way with just a few pieces of scrap metal? Jiang Ningyi's face darkened and he didn't answer. The black-robed old man said majestically, What a big tone. Ding, this is the senior management giving you face. Don't refuse it. You can go, but CEO Lan must stay. A cold light flashed in Ding Meng's eyes. He looked at Jiang Ningyi coldly. Is this what you want? Chapter 1073. Ding Meng's glance made Jiang Ningyi's hair stand on end. He was from a rich family and was used to living a life of luxury and being surrounded by attendants. In the face of such a murderous gaze, he suddenly felt the temperature in the room drop by dozens of degrees. However, he also had his own confidence. He replied unhurriedly, This is not my idea. It is the idea of the Federation's higher-up. You are quite something. You dare to represent the higher-ups alone. Ding Meng turned his head and said to Liang Yiran, Turn on the wristband and record this. How dare you? The old man in the black robe shouted again. An old man in a tang suit immediately stepped forward and seemed to reach out to grab Liang Yiran's wristband. However, just as he took 2 steps, he immediately hit an invisible wall and staggered back a few steps. Ding Meng stared at Jiang Ningyi again and said, You said it was the higher-ups' idea. So, the higher-ups want me to leave and let Lil Bing stay with you for the night? You only need to answer yes now. Yes or no. Jiang Ningyi slowly got up and said proudly, This is your understanding, not mine. Okay. You have guts. Ding Meng nodded silently and said, I'm warning you for the last time. Don't think that just because Jiang Qianchen is the current president you will rise as well. Go and find out how Bai Xingfei, Zheng Fangying, and Wen Yang died. He turned again and found that the old man in the black robe was in front of him in a flash. Ding Meng was not angry. He turned his head and said to Lan Bing, What time is it now? Lan Bing looked down at the wristband and said, 7:34 at night. Ding Meng said, Start the timer now. Tell them that it's me who said it. Ask someone important to come and get them. I will only wait until 12 o'clock in the morning. If no one comes, I don't mind killing these self-righteous people. The old man in the black robe was very surprised. You are really crazy. How dare you attack the people of the Jiang family? Ding Meng did not answer. Instead, he hooked his finger at him and said, Come on. The black-robed old man ordered in a deep voice, Capture this brat. The old man in the tang suit who had just been knocked back flashed forward like a ghost and pressed his claws on Ding Meng's shoulders. Ding Meng did not resist and allowed him to increase his strength. Did you not eat? Harder. The old man in the tang suit was shocked. Ding Meng was clearly not breathing, but he could not move him. The old man in the tang suit gritted his teeth. His claws suddenly turned red, and a fiery red coating appeared on the back of his hands. However, this time, Ding Meng would not just stand there and let him have his way. Ding Meng's shoulders shook slightly, and the old man in the tang suit disappeared in a flash. The old man in the black robe and the others turned around in surprise. They saw the old man in the tang suit crash into a bar counter in the distance with a bang. His back smashed into a wine cabinet and shattered it into pieces. The old man in the tang suit sat in a pile of debris. He slowly raised his arms. His palms were trembling non-stop, because both of his palms had been broken. The other's expressions changed. His palms were crippled. The old man in the black robe was furious. "How dare you hurt people in the Blue Pole Star City? I can't let you live. Let's attack him together." The remaining two old men also rushed forward. Unfortunately, the others did not see clearly this time. The two of them disappeared as well. Only two muffled sounds came from the door behind them. When they turned around, they saw that the two old men's palms had also been broken. As for what method Ding Meng had used, but Ding Meng did not seem to have moved at all. Ding Meng laughed coldly. "You're just 3 battle saints. You actually dared to touch me." The old man in the black robe was stunned. He was confident that he could take on 3 of the Jiang family's warriors by himself. However, he knew that he could not achieve the same effect as Ding Meng, who was as immovable as a mountain. Could it be that this Ding Meng was an advanced-level war god? His perception of Ding Meng could not be blamed. After all, he had never participated in or even heard of any of the major events that affected the Federal Empire. As the saying goes, one's strength determined one's ability to receive information. "You really dare to touch the people of our Jiang family?" the old man in the black robe asked in shock. Lan Bing stood up at this time. "Elder Chu, my husband has always been very benevolent. Very few people can survive after exchanging blows with him. Today, he was actually quite polite to you." The old man in the black robe could not believe his ears. Crippling the hands of 3 Battle Saint level origin ability users was called benevolent? This was called being polite? To hell with being polite. The old man in the black robe jumped up in anger, and then, there was no more then. Ding Meng's finger lightly pressed on the round table, and a table knife flew out like lightning. The handle of the knife hit the old man in the black robe's forehead. Before the old man could even jump up, his whole body swayed. Then, his eyes rolled back and he fainted on the spot. The sharp and shiny table knife flew a circle in the air, and then flew back into Ding Meng's hand as if it had grown eyes. Ding Meng then turned to Jiang Ningyi. "What about now? Do you still want Director Lan to stay?" At this moment, Jiang Ningyi could no longer pretend to be calm. His legs were trembling uncontrollably. He was only a beginner-level battlemaster. He had never eaten pork, but he had seen pigs run. 3 battle saints and a war god could not even lift a finger in front of Ding Meng. They directly fell to the ground. If he continued to pretend to be tough, he would really be seeking death. Jiang Ningyi's teeth were chattering. "No, no, 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 you can all go now." Ding Meng laughed. "You are really shameless. You want to keep them here, and you want to let them go. Is this also the order of the Federation's higher-ups?" Jiang Ningyi could only nod. "Yes, yes, yes," Ding Meng said, "but this is not my order." Lan Bing could see that Ding Meng did not plan to let this guy go. "Ding Meng." Lan Bing pulled the corner of his clothes and frowned. "He is President Jiang Qianqin's grandson." Ding Meng immediately interrupted her and said seriously, "If it was someone else, I would not have let it go. It is because he is the president's man that I want to let everyone know that if they want a woman, they can go elsewhere. But if they dare to hit me, Ding Meng, what kind of price will they have to pay?" After saying that, he raised his hand slightly. With a flash of a knife, Jiang Ningyi screamed and fell to the ground, rolling desperately. Ding Meng did not want to kill him. Instead, he cut off his little finger. Iran, take a good picture and give it a close-up. Spread the news. I will see who comes to save him before 12 o'clock. If no one comes, I will cut him into 36 pieces. Okay. Liang Iran also didn't mind blowing things up. In any case, she had already seen Ding Meng's strength. Now, even if all the intelligent robot guards of Blue Pole Star City arrived, they wouldn't be able to do anything to Ding Meng. Lan Bing didn't object anymore. Ding Meng had always kept a low profile and rarely showed off. Moreover, she had done so to protect Lan Bing. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Ding Meng looked at Jiang Ningyi, who was rolling on the ground, and sneered. One person dares to represent the will of the Federation's higher-ups. Then, let me see what the higher-ups of the Federation think. His boots stepped on the ground slightly, and the stool next to him suddenly slid forward and hit Jiang Ningyi's head with a bang. Jiang Ningyi flew more than 10 meters away, knocking over 3 tables along the way. This time, he could not even cry out in pain. He fell to the ground and fainted. Ding Meng was still sneering. Someone wants to buy my Bingy Group's route, but no one came out to say anything. I will cripple this kid now. Let's see who will speak up for him. Lan Bing understood and immediately said, I also talked to the governor of Blue Pole Star City about this problem. Our Bingy Group's annual taxes are very high, but the governor asked me to consider the overall situation. Ding Meng said, well, this kid wouldn't dare to cause trouble in my territory even if he had 10,000 guts. It would be strange if there was no one behind him. Liang Yiran said, Ding Meng, are you saying that someone is behind our Bingy Group? Ding Meng waved his hand and said, it's not as simple as you think. I will take care of it. The three chatted for a while more before the banquet hall's door was finally pushed open. A group of soldiers surrounded a middle-aged official and walked in. Looking at the uniform of this official, one could tell that he was the chief governor of Blue Pole Star City. Director Lan, Director Liang. After the governor came in, he first greeted the two heads with a smile. Lan Bing also smiled back. Senior Mu. This governor's name was Mu Jian, and he was backed by the people of Blue Pole Star City's Mu family. Mu Hua was Mu Jian's grandson. There were many influential people in Blue Pole Star City, so Lan Bing could ignore them all, but she still respected the governor. Mu Jian was obviously an old hand in politics. He smiled and greeted, this must be Mr. Ting Ding Meng, right? This humble one has admired you for a long time, but unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to meet you. Why don't I take advantage of today's beautiful scenery to be the host? What do you think? Ding Meng interrupted him rudely. If you're here to plead for these things, I advise you to give up on that idea. No. Mu Jian was still smiling. I'm here purely because of your reputation. I've heard of Mr. Ting's great name once or twice. Ding Meng turned his head and stared at him. Since you know me, why did you allow someone to maliciously acquire my Bingy Group's shipping routes? I don't believe that you don't know anything about this. Anyone who was targeted by Ding Meng would feel terrible. Mu Jian's scalp tingled. This, Ding Meng said lightly. How much value has the Bingy Group's shipping routes created for Blue Pole Star City? Now that Lil Bing is under pressure, it's fine if you don't want to help share the burden, but you even dare to plead for Jiang Ningyi. Seeing that you didn't bring a large group of robot guards, I won't make things difficult for you. You can leave. You don't have the qualifications to deal with this matter. The group of soldiers immediately revealed shocked expressions. This was the highest-ranking officer in Blue Pole Star City, yet he didn't have the qualifications to deal with a small fight in the city. The problem was that Mu Jian couldn't leave or stay. He could only stand there awkwardly. He didn't know the power of the boss behind the Bingy Group, but he had heard of the nickname War God Ding Meng. In the Holy Grail Federation, the influence of a war god was not to be underestimated. Offending a war god was no different from offending an entire fleet. Of course, he had to be clear about Ding Meng's true rank. He was probably already regretting stepping through this door. Chapter 1074. At 10 o'clock at night, the door of the banquet hall was pushed open again. This time, there were only two people who came. The woman walking in front had her chin held high. She was wearing an expensive suit, and her eyes were dazzling. Seeing this person, Jiang Ningyi, who was lying on the ground, suddenly exclaimed, Miss Lu, I'm here. Help me. This person was none other than the acting vice president of the Holy Grail Federation, Lu Xiaobing. However, she was now an official vice president. The person behind Lu Xiaobing was none other than her old follower, Xie Feishi. After entering the hall, Lu Xiaobing glared at Jiang Ningyi. Then, she walked up to Ding Meng and said, Long time no see, Ding Meng. Ding Meng nodded as a greeting. Lu Xiaobing glanced around and found that the four old men were all seriously injured and awake. Then, she said coldly, Why don't you come over and thank Mr. Ding Meng for sparing your lives? Jiang Ningyi's eyes widened. Miss Lu, my grandfather is Jiang Qianchen. Jiang Qianchen, Lu Xiaobing really hated him. This person was ignorant and incompetent. He only knew how to eat, drink, and enjoy. This time, he caused such a big trouble. He could have provoked anyone, but he dared to provoke Ding Meng. Did he have a death wish? Shut up. Lu Xiaobing interrupted him coldly. Even if your grandfather is here, he has to apologize to Mr. Ding Meng today. Jiang Ningyi was stunned again. He argued unhappily, Isn't he just the champion of the Fengyan gathering? Why are you so scared? When I go back and tell my grandfather, I'll kill him. As he spoke, he glared at Lan Bing fiercely. And this woman, I want her. Hearing this, Lu Xiaobing was really frightened. Perhaps it was a small matter for him to acquire Bingy Group's airline route, but if he dared to have any ideas about Lan Bing, he would be digging his own grave. Back then, Lu Xiaobing did not know the depth of Ding Meng's strength and recklessly tested his temper. After that, she was similar to Jiang Ningyi. She did not take Ding Meng seriously and was very unconvinced. It was not until a series of events later that Lu Xiaobing realized that even the higher-ups of the Federation could not afford to be involved in an incident involving a master like Ding Meng. If they were involved, they would die. Ding Meng had saved her and Xie Feishi's lives on the Golden Elephant battleship, so there was no need to guess which side her ass was facing. Moreover, in the 5 years after Ding Meng left, Lu Xiaobing was officially the vice president. After she learned about Bingy Group and Ding Meng's information in detail, she had always been on Bingy Group's side. But now, Jiang Ningyi was still roaring non-stop. Ding Meng and the other two were too lazy to pay attention to him. Lan Bing smiled charmingly. Miss Lu, long time no see. Lu Xiaobing also smiled humbly. President Lan, I'm sorry for making you suffer. I didn't expect something like this to happen. I specially came here from St. Hui. Lan Bing hurriedly explained to Ding Meng. Ding Meng, Miss Lu has been taking care of us all these years. She has also shouldered a lot of pressure. Ding Meng nodded again. Lu Xiaobing was able to become the vice president not because of her appearance. This woman was at least smart enough to learn from her mistake. Lu Xiaobing showed an apologetic expression. Ding Meng, I'm really sorry. I know about the acquisition of the route, but His Excellency the President insisted on his opinion. My voice was too weak. Ding Meng sighed. That's very kind of you. I'll remember Miss Lu's kindness. Lu Xiaobing was slightly relieved. Getting a favor from Ding Meng was not a big deal. Angering Ding Meng was a big deal. This man had even made a move against the Empire's head of state, let alone the vice president of the Federation. As for people like Jiang Ningyi, Ding Meng did not even bother to pay attention to them. If it were not for the fact that they tried to get their hands on his exclusive property, Ding Meng would not be interested in arguing with them. At this time, Xiefeishi also took the initiative to explain. His voice was a little low. Ding Meng, Miss Lu is not here to plead for mercy. But we haven't received any news from the president. Ding Meng said, It seems that this new president is very headstrong. Everyone looked at each other. Ding Meng was the only one who dared to say something like this. No one else present dared to say anything. Mu Juyen, who was standing off to the side, was still a little suspicious before. Now he was completely honest. Even the vice president of the Federation behaved properly in front of Ding Meng. He was just the governor of Blue Pole Star City. Lu Xiaobing said, Ding Meng, there will be people coming in a while. I guess you must have something to do as well. Why don't we go somewhere else to talk? She was implying that they should drop the matter here. Ding Meng also knew that Lu Xiaobing was not here just to meet him. So, he turned to look at Lan Bing. How long has this kid been harassing you? Lan Bing said, Almost a year. Ding Meng said, Isn't he the same as Yu Anjie? Lan Bing said disdainfully, Yu Anjie is much better than him. At the very least, he won't have any designs on the Bingy group. Ding Meng said, That's true. At the very least, he's convinced. However, this kid seems to be very unconvinced. Hearing this, everyone's heart sank. Ding Meng was not going to let this matter rest. Ding Meng looked at the black-robed old man who was curled up in the distance. The old man was immediately drawn over by telekinesis. How old are you this year? The black-robed old man had already experienced Ding Meng's strength. He was so nervous that he could not speak. Xiefeishi continued, Ding Meng, Chu Kong, Chu Lao, one of the seniors of the Jiang family. He once performed meritorious service during the war against the Norse Empire. At that time, the parliament even specially rewarded him. He clearly had the intention of interceding for the black-robed old man. Since he had participated in the war against the Norse Empire, he was at least 200 years old. It was not easy for a normal origin ability user to reach the level of a warlord at 200 years old. Ding Meng put down Chu Kong and sighed. A mighty warlord is actually willing to be the fighter of this playboy. What's the point of your martial arts cultivation? Chu Kong half knelt on the ground and gritted his teeth. What do you want? Ding Meng laughed. If I say that I'm going to cripple this kid's hands, would you believe me? Jiang Ningyi suddenly became nervous. If other people said this, they would at most be bluffing. However, since it was Ding Meng who said it, it was not a joke. Lu Xiaobing, Xiefeishi, and Mu Juyen all remained silent. It was clear that they were used to this. Chu Kong gritted his teeth and said, You're such a powerful expert. There's no need for you to make a move against a small character at the level of a warlord. If you have something to say, come at me. Ding Meng laughed. So you think that you're a big character just because you're a warlord? In my eyes, you're not even trash. You actually dared to have ideas about Xiaobing. Just based on this, you deserve to die. However, I'll give you a chance now. Go and cripple this kid's hands, and I'll let you leave. After he finished speaking, the table knife in Ding Meng's hand automatically floated in front of Chu Kong. Under the illumination of the restaurant's lights, the cold light of the knife's blade was particularly frightening. Chu Kong was furious. You're delusional. Ding Meng nodded. I know that you don't dare. If you really cripple this kid's hands when you go back, the Grand President will make you wish you were dead. Since you don't have this awareness, then I'll cripple you. As soon as he finished speaking, Ding Meng's eyes began to exert force. Countless telekinetic particles entered Chu Kong's body. Chu Kong's body immediately convulsed in pain. In less than 10 seconds, he foamed at the mouth and fainted again. The group of people were shocked because no one could see what Ding Meng had done to Chu Kong. Ding Meng's gaze fell on Mu Juyen. Don't worry, sir. I won't kill him. I just crippled all the origin points in his body. If he wants to recover, he'll have to cultivate for another 100 or 200 years. Mu Juyen and the group of soldiers were completely dumbfounded. This was really crippling someone. Such a method was not only unpredictable, but also extremely cruel. Xie Feishi did not say anything. Ding Meng's words were actually directed at him. If he did not have the authority, then he should not speak carelessly. Disaster came from the mouth. Jiang Ningyi looked at Chu Kong, who was like a corpse, in horror. Now, he had completely lost his temper. This person really dared to cripple the Jiang family's expert. As for you, you were indeed worse than trash. Elder Chu. The remaining 3 elders were furious when they saw this scene. The 3 of them were Chu Kong's disciples. Now that their master had been crippled, the 3 of them were furious and rushed toward Ding Meng without caring about anything else. You're courting death. Ding Meng suddenly stretched out his hand and waved it in front of him. A shocking wave of energy rippled forward in the air. The 3 people who were halfway through their charge turned into 3 wisps of smoke on the spot. The banquet hall was dead silent. 3 living battle sages were gone just like that. Xie Feishi sighed and silently lowered his head. He was an expert, so he naturally understood that Ding Meng's attack was an invisible wave of energy that could instantly kill a battle sage. However, this wave of energy was controlled so precisely by Ding Meng. It swung forward in a semicircle, and it did not even affect the surrounding tables, chairs, and lamps. How strong must one be to be able to control it so well? Previously, when he saw Chu Kong being crippled, he felt a little sad. However, now, he could not even think about it. Ding Meng lowered his head and looked at Jiang Ningyi, who was trembling on the ground. He said seriously, "You're lucky that these 3 old fellows died for you. However, you won't be so lucky next time. Go back and tell your grandfather that if he wants to buy the Bingi Group's flight route, it's best that he personally comes to negotiate. Also, it's best that he shows his sincerity. If you don't have enough money, then I don't mind changing the president of the Holy Grail Federation." These words were so domineering that Jiang Ningyi did not even have the courage to reply. Mu Jian sighed and turned his head to order the soldiers, "Take young Master Jiang and Elder Chu to the medical center for treatment." A group of soldiers immediately stepped forward and carried the 2 of them out. Mu Jian also felt that it was useless to say anything more. He bowed slightly to Ding Meng and said, "Mr. Ting, President Lan, sorry for the disturbance. Goodbye." It was only after Mu Jian and the others left that Lu Xiaobing politely extended her hand. "Ding Meng, President Lan, President Liang, I believe there's a place in Blue Pole Star City that you're interested in visiting. Please." Chapter 1075. In the eastern suburbs of Blue Pole Star City near the sea, the giant ring buildings were brightly lit under the night sky. The small neon bird transport ship crossed the night sky and slowly landed on the tarmac at the bottom of the building complex. The tarmac was built like a beautiful and unique back garden. Seeing this beautiful scenery, Ding Meng could not help but sigh. When he first came here, he was attracted by the Blue Pole branch of the Starbow Group. It was also here that he first met Cartel and the Transit String. Returning to the old haunt after so many years, many people and things appeared in front of his eyes. Lu Xiaobing chose the Starbow Group as the location. Could it be that she wanted to bring him to meet the Transit String? Entering the reception hall, the shuttle ladder began to rise vertically. Looking at the constantly flashing indicator lights, Ding Meng could not help but recall the interesting scene when he first met Mr. Cartel. Suddenly, a ding sound interrupted his thoughts. The shuttle ladder stopped at the 31st floor, and the square metal building reappeared in front of him. This was the Energy Research and Development Department 9, the hall where Cartel used to work. Ding Meng was a little hesitant. He turned his head and said, "This is..." Lu Xiaobing smiled and stretched out her hand. "Please." The Energy Research and Development Department 9 was the same as before. It was a completely sealed hall. The surrounding walls were made of black metal, and there was no crystal glass on them. It was completely isolated from the outside world. The facilities from back then were still there. The console, the sensor cabin, the tool table, the simulation system, and the rows of shelves were all placed in disorder. It could be said that it was a complete mess, but unlike back then, these items and instruments were covered with a thick layer of dust. It was obvious that no one had been here for a long time. Ding Meng could not help but sigh. It seems that after Mr. Cartel left, this place was completely abandoned. A clear female voice suddenly sounded. Yes, this place has been abandoned for a long time, so it is relatively safe here. No one knows that we will meet here. The voice came from the workbench. The workbench turned and a familiar figure appeared in front of everyone. Ding Meng was a little surprised. It's you. Lan Bing was also surprised. Secretary Jean, why are you here? In everyone's impression, Jean Xiaoyan was like the shadow of the transit string, always following behind. As the secretary of the transit string, Jean Xiaoyan also paid attention to appearance and elegance. But now Jean Xiaoyan's hair was messy and her face was haggard, as if she was under house arrest. Ding Meng immediately turned his head and asked, "What's going on?" Lu Xiaobing sighed. "I'm sorry, my ability is limited. I can only let Secretary Jean stay in this place. After all, no one will notice here." Secretary Jean also told me that once you come back, if you want to find third Miss Ling but can't find her, you can come here to find her. Ding Meng smiled bitterly. That's her style. Lan Bing frowned. Secretary Jean, where is Manager Ling? Jean Xiaoyan said, have you not been able to contact Miss Ling for a long time? Or did Miss Ling not respond to you at all? Liang Yiran was surprised. That's true. What happened? Jean Xiaoyan also smiled bitterly. Now the Manager Ling and Secretary Jean outside Xinghong Group are impersonators. Ordinary people can't see through them at all. The real Miss Ling has been missing for 3 years. Hearing this, everyone's heart sank. Jean Xiaoyan said, 3 years ago, Dr. Lin Kejia and Dr. Cuddle disappeared one after another. On the night when the light technology was developed, a group of mysterious masters broke into the headquarters of Xinghong Sacred Splendor. I also escaped with the help of Miss Lu and Senior Xia. As she spoke, she cast a grateful look at Lu Xiaobing and Xia Feishi. Xia Feishi sighed. Secretary Jean, you're welcome. From a moral point of view, this is what we should do. Jean Xiaoyan continued to explain. Before Miss Ling disappeared, she told me to wait patiently for Mr. Ting to come back and deal with the situation. Lu Xiaobing looked at Ding Meng. What happened in the Yulin system 5 years ago? The Empire withdrew from the Fertile Chalk system. Later, I asked around and found out that Planet 32 mysteriously disappeared. Ding Meng pondered and sighed. I always thought that the Knight Luan martial artists only controlled the Norse Empire. It seems that I was wrong. Their hands have already reached into the Holy Grail Federation. This is normal. In our human world, there's nothing these demonesses don't dare to do. Everyone looked at each other. They didn't experience the big incident of the demon's teleportation. Naturally, they didn't know about the invasion of the Knight Luan Empire. Ding Meng said, since the transit string and Lin Kejia mysteriously disappeared, didn't Nanshuan do anything? Jean Xiaoyan said, in the years that you weren't around, I tried to ask Sister Nan for help. Unfortunately, I couldn't contact her. Ding Meng shook his head. That can't be right. It's not that you couldn't contact her. She must have gone into hiding. Jean Xiaoyan's eyes lit up. Yes, Mr. Ting, your judgment is accurate. I tried my best to ask around and finally found her whereabouts. Ding Meng immediately asked, where is she now? Jean Xiaoyan said, she will arrive at Huading Mountain Villa in the southern suburbs at 1 a.m. tonight. Ding Meng looked at Lan Bing in surprise. Huading Mountain Villa 2 used to be Lan Bing's private residence. Lan Bing said, after I left Xinghao Corporation, Huading Mountain Villa 2 has been idle. She's always been a mysterious person. Why would she suddenly go there? Ding Meng suddenly closed his eyes. He was thinking about all the clues. He always felt that there was a mysterious connection between all the things that happened after he came back. When is the first demonstration of Chu Guang 1? Ding Meng suddenly asked. Lu Xiaobing immediately answered, there are still 20 days left. Ding Meng let out a long breath. I think I understand now. Liang Yiran couldn't help but ask, what's going on? Ding Meng. Ding Meng waved his hand. They wouldn't understand even if he explained it to them. I'll go to Huading Mountain Villa too in a while. You guys don't have to follow me. Xiaobing, you and Iran go back to Bingi Corporation first. Contact Ji Chenxue and Ling Xingqi and ask them to enter the Federation to deal with the Xinhong Corporation. Miss Lu and Senior Xie will take care of Secretary Jin for now. What about you? Lan Bing couldn't help but ask. Ding Meng said, I've taught Jiang Ningyi a lesson today. I reckon the news of my return will soon spread. Trouble will come soon. Go and inform Sister Yin and Long Feiyu. Have the broken ship Heavenly Fate No. 1 wait for me at the spaceport of Luji Star. Once I'm done here, I'll have to go to Cypress Gu Star personally. He paused and looked at Jin Xiaoyan. Don't worry. If I'm not wrong, Miss Ling and the others should still be alive. As long as I find them, I'll definitely send them back. Jin Xiaoyan immediately bowed. Thank you, Mr. Ting. After leaving Xinhong Corporation, everyone went their separate ways. Ding Meng didn't go back to Bingi Corporation. Instead, he went straight to Huading Mountain Villa in the southern suburbs. Huading Mountain Villa too was the same as before. Under the waterfall, the moonlight-style villa with a lotus pond flickered under the night sky. It was obvious that the villa had been opened by someone. Ding Meng scanned the villa with his telekinesis vision. He was surprised to find that there were 2 security guards standing at the villa's entrance and courtyard. Although the 4 of them were wearing suits and sunglasses, their appearances were obviously disguised. Their auras were hidden very well. If Ding Meng wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't have been able to sense their hidden charm. These were 4 Night Luan warriors. They were all galactic warriors. Ding Meng instantly made this judgment. He was very curious. What kind of person could make galactic warriors stand guard outside? However, in his telekinesis vision, there was no one inside the villa. What was Nanxuan's intention for coming here? Ding Meng expanded his telekinesis vision again. He sensed that the power furnace under the villa was turned on. The shield generator was running. The nanochrome porcelain steel wall immediately blocked the signals from the outside world. He could vaguely sense that the space under the villa had expanded quite a bit, but he couldn't see the actual situation underground. It seemed that Huading Mountain Villa 2 had been modified by someone over the years. At this moment, Ding Meng felt a little regretful. When Lan Bing lived here back then, she didn't go down. Otherwise, he would have known more about the general situation. Looking